This is Trophy Gold, the sleeping place of the feathered swine. Let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. When I call on you, please say your name, your pronouns, and anything else you would like for viewers of the video to know about you. I will start though. My name is Jason. I use he, him. They is also fine. I am the publisher or one of the publishers of Trophy Gold, and I've written a lot of stuff for it as well. I also run or co-host a podcast called Fear of a Black Dragon, where we review or really analyze modules, adventure modules. And at some point, we're going to do The Sleeping Place of the Feathered Swine, which is why I'm running it right now. And so with all that said, let's just go around the table. We'll start with Chris.
I'm Chris Nizak, he, him. I'm a podcaster also, and you can hear me wax poetic often about Jason Cordova's games over at Misdirected Mark Productions. So, if you want to check that out, go ahead.
It is much appreciated. Thank you. Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark. I go by he or them. I play a lot of games, design games, and run games all the time, and I'm super happy to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you. And let's go to Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric, he, him, and I've also designed games. I've got a couple of Force in the Dark games that I've got done. I'm excited to play Trophy Gold. I've ran it a few times, but I haven't actually played it.
Fantastic. And finally, Billy.
Yeah, I'm Billy, he, him. Once again, like everybody else, play a lot of games. I'm in Mark's games on Monday on his Twitch channel. And yeah, excited to play Trophy Gold. Last time I played was actually with Jason, so this will be fun.
Fantastic. So I'm going to start with CATS. CATS is an acronym that stands for Concept, Aim, Tone, and Subject Matter. I like to do this at the beginning of a game in order to establish some basic expectations for what we're going to be doing for this special two-shot of Trophy Gold. So the concept, we'll start with Trophy Gold. Trophy Gold is a game about desperate treasure hunters going into the lost and forgotten places of the world in order to find treasure. They each have a drive, which is incredibly expensive to realize. And so they, in order to satisfy their ambitions, they have to go search for treasure. And they are always sort of on the cusp of debilitating poverty, which is another theme of the game. And it's actually really, really incredibly difficult for a Trophy Gold character to meet their drive, which is by design, but we're here to see them struggle and try. It is probably, of the two trophy games, Dark and Gold, it's the one that's a much more traditional in its framing in terms of, it's a fantasy adventuring party game, right? Its sister game, Trophy Dark, is much more of a one or two shot fantasy horror, like quite intense horror game. But Gold has a lot of horror elements. And in particular, this module we're doing called the Sleeping Place of the Feathered Swine, it is a, I don't want to reveal too much about it for spoiler's sake, but I will say that it's incredibly grotesque. It's quite graphic in its violence, and it's extremely distasteful. So if you're here for that, good. If you're not here for that, we'll talk about it when we get to safety tools, but know that it is a quite distasteful, disgusting module. I love that kind of thing, and so I'm really excited to run it. And we'll just kind of leave it at that. The aim of the characters in the story is to find a treasure. I find in Trophy Gold that the best thing you can do when you're playing your character is to really just focus on finding treasure. The rest of the story tends to kind of happen from there, right? The dice take care of a lot of the story building, the collaborative storytelling. So as long as you're focused on finding treasure, the game will kick in and do the rest in terms of the narrative. So that's what I recommend. The aim of us as players is to tell a good story. There's a really strong chance that one or more of the players will be dead or ruined by the end, and Trophy Gold embraces a play to lose and a play to win ethos. Trophy Dark is just play to lose. But the play to lose part of it is, if you see your character coming to their dire end, lean into it. Give them a great ending. It's just a two-shot, so you might as well let them go out with a blaze of glory. That said, if your character survives and meets all their burdens, you are more than free and welcome to use them in a future game of mine that I run if you wish. So they can always return. And our sort of aims for just in terms of like logistics, we're gonna we'll after my spiel, we'll make characters, introduce them, and then we'll just start playing. We'll have a debrief at the end. The tone. The tone of Trophy Gold generally is a very sort of like grimy, gritty, desperate treasure hunting, dungeon crawling kind of thing. That is particularly the case with this module. This module is really quite alien and disgusting in its vibe, and so that's what you could expect. In subject matter, the biggest, I think the kind of main subject matter things to ping here are just body horror. There's a lot of it, and body horror and fluids and grotesqueness. Safety tools in place, and so the safety tools that we're going to be using are the open door policy. You can leave for any reason. You don't have to explain yourself. We are going to have the X card, which in this context, if something happens in the game that you find to be objectionable, you can say X card or type it in the chat, and I will stop and we'll revise whatever we need to revise. And then we'll also be doing lines and veils. That will actually be on the character keeper, which I'll share with you in a bit. Just at some point, go there and note your lines and veils. Lines are things that we're not going to have in the story period, irrespective of what we've just described. I will note there are certain things that will be very hard to line in this, body horror being one of them. So maybe go for a veil if you feel like that's something you don't want to do. Veils are things that you're okay with being in the story. We just prefer not to linger on the role play of it. I will go ahead and say my lines and veils just so you know what I'm talking about here. I usually put sexual violence behind a line. I'm going to put one tiny caveat on that one weird little moment in the module because I want to see if we can go there. I don't want to like completely foreclose it unless somebody just has somebody really wants to. We'll kind of handle it in the moment. But generally speaking, like sexual violence between characters, I really would like to avoid that. And then I'm also going to put torture behind a very thin veil. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but I think it could possibly come up in this module because it's a gnarly one. So just note your lines and veils on the character keeper whenever we get there. I think that's all to look out for cats. Do you all have any questions about any of that? I did that really quickly and off the top of my head, so I was really happy with that. Okay, then in that case, we're going to make characters. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording here. Okay, so we have created our characters. We are now going to introduce them. I'm going to go in the order of the sheet from left to right. For the introductions, we can keep it pretty simple for now. A name, occupation, background, and drive is enough. If you want to tell us about your skills and rituals and equipment, you can do that as well. And if you know a little bit about your drive at this point, you can tell us, but it's okay if you don't. Your drive can be something we sort of develop and play. So, Billy, tell us about Teoden.
Yeah, so Teoden chose spider as an occupation. I thought that was fun with the opportunistic grave robber background. The idea is that he kind of was a gravekeeper himself, and he started stealing from bodies and stuff like that before burying them. Got in a bit of trouble. I will say my drive, don't know what it means. Pay your father's debt to Bright Teeth Assyrio. That should be fun. And I took one ritual, which is a ghoul, animate a dead body. That's pretty much it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's go to Chris and Alex Devereaux.
So Alex is currently a sellsword, but he used to be a whaler who got injured on one of his more recent whaling outings, and he can't do that job anymore. It was a head injury that makes him susceptible to vertigo, and being on a ship, it's not very good for that. And during that last expedition, it was my fault that the ship went down, and now I owe the Southern Pass Company quite a bit of money, so I'm a sellsword looking to repay my debts.
Fantastic. Thank you. And let's go to Mark and Osto.
Osto used to be an enlightened miner, but is now a woodcutter. And his drive is to commission a glorious statue of his deity, which is Heshar the East Wind.
Nice. And now that we have an Osto, officially, everyone watching at home can mark their bingo card, their Trophy Gold bingo card.
I rolled it randomly.
Oh, we have a Revel too, so that's great.
Yep.
You get 2 squares on the bingo card today. Eric, tell us about Revel. Oh, you're muted.
Revel is a recently unmasked Feyborn who works as a smuggler, and his goal is to become part of the swirling court.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so we have our characters introduced, basic introductions. We will learn more about them as we play. In fact, that's one of our goals, is to learn about them as we play. I want to talk about a couple of rules things for Trophy Gold before we get going too far. So one thing you should know is that the game is quite collaborative in nature. So I am running a module, and I'm doing my best, and I'm going to do my best to present the module as it is written. I try to take every module on their own terms as much as I can, but we are playing Trophy Gold, and Trophy Gold, the mechanics of Trophy Gold, a lot of them are very player facing. And so there's a lot of opportunity for players, or for you as players, to shift and shape the narrative into things that the module did not entertain or that I did not consider. And that's good. That's what we want. And so just understand that you will often be asked to contribute information out of character as a player to shape the story, and you should embrace those moments because that's what we're here to do. So collaborative storytelling. One of the most significant ways that this collaborative storytelling takes place in Trophy Gold is through the die roll that is used to resolve most obstacles, which is called the risk roll. Now, the risk roll has a particular feature called the Devil's Bargain. And the Devil's Bargain, essentially what it is, when the person who's rolling dice wants to increase their die pool, they can accept a Devil's Bargain from another player or myself. Devil's Bargains are things that will happen in the fiction no matter what. Whether you succeed or fail, you have chosen for this narrative thing to occur. It has to be something that complicates the treasure hunters or the party's life a little bit. And that's how it goes. So basically you're rolling dice, you're getting ready to roll dice, you're looking for an extra light die. We all make our offers, and if you want, you can accept one of them or reject them all. So to give you a sense of how Devil's Bargains work, I like an example. Let's say, for example, Osto is trying to jump over a crevasse, okay? And I offer a very simple Devil's Bargain. I say, well, Osto, no matter what, when you jump over the crevasse, your throwing hatchet slips out of your belt loop and falls into the crevasse and you lose it. And that's a pretty simple Devil's Bargain, but it's, sometimes simple is good. But of course, Eric will offer a Devil's Bargain that's much more intriguing and might say, well, no matter what, on the other side of the crevasse, there is a priest of your deity. Now that's interesting because we know that Osto is very committed to their deity. And so by Eric introducing the possibility of a priest of that deity being on the other side of the crevasse, that totally changes the story, right? Like the story is now going in a direction that no one anticipated, but it's a fun direction. And so that's one of the ways that Devil's Bargains works as well. So it can be simple or it could be more narratively elaborate, and I encourage both. And through all of that is how we're going to create our story together. And so you don't have to worry too much about interfering with the module's intentions. I'm a pretty good GM and I can roll with the punches. So whatever you come up with, I will be able to work it into what we're doing. In terms of other rules, things I'd like to cover, I want to talk about Trophy Gold has this really interesting economy that's going on. I will say at the outset, for people who have not played a lot of Trophy Gold, you will be surprised how gamey it is and how tactical it is. This is particularly the case in combat, which we'll cross that bridge when we have a combat. The combat is quite tactical, but not in the way you're thinking. It's sort of narratively tactical. The other sort of like tactical or even strategic aspect of the game is this currency called hunt roll tokens. So your characters are going to be searching, and every time you look at something or examine a corridor or ask a question about something, you will make a hunt roll. The hunt roll determines just two things. Do you get a hunt roll token as a player, and do you encounter something terrible? What you learn from asking the question or peering into the darkness is entirely up to me as the GM. I can say what you find or what you don't find, irrespective of what your dice say. I can just tell you what you see. The hunt roll, though, is basically like it's our random encounter table, right? Like it introduces complications, but it also gives you this currency, the hunt roll token. And that currency is extremely valuable. It's the engine of this game because you can spend a token to find a treasure worth 1 gold. And you have to collect treasures by the end of this equal to your burdens, or your character cannot ever see play again. They are retired from play. So that's one of the ways you can find treasures, is to just turn in a token. You say, you know what, I think it'd be cool if I find a treasure here. You spend the token, I give you a treasure, and that's how it goes. Alternatively, hunt roll tokens can be pooled to accomplish certain goals in the game. So sometimes I will say that an area has a set goal, and you can accomplish the set goal just because you accomplish it naturally in the gameplay, or you can pool the 3 tokens to automatically accomplish the set goal. You might want to do that because, let's say, the set goal lets you get past a really difficult monster and you're all kind of hurting, and it would be really nice to get past this monster without having to engage the combat mechanics, and so, which are quite punitive. And so you choose to do that. That's one reason why you might do such a thing. Or I might say the set goal is there's a really fabulous treasure in this chamber somewhere, and you want to just go ahead and get it instead of like having to search around and trigger bad things with the hunt roll. And so that's kind of how the pooling of the tokens to make goals works. Also, one other interesting wrinkle in the game, which I'm only recently aware of, despite the fact that I'm the publisher of said game, is that you can spend 3 tokens to just accomplish a goal, like something that is not a determined set goal. Like I can describe something really horrible, there's no set goal attached to it, and you can all ask, well, can we just spend 3 tokens to get past this? And I'll be like, yeah, okay, sure, maybe. We'll, if I agree, then we'll do it. Or maybe you have a character who is on the verge of death, and someone says, if we spend 3 tokens, can we like get them away from the verge of death somehow? And I might agree to that, right? So that's another thing the tokens can be used for. So they're a very valuable narrative currency. There are other things to know about the game, obviously, but we'll go as we play. But I do want to kind of point out those kind of big ticket items to start. Are there any questions about anything we've done so far? Okay, then in that case, I think we are ready to begin. I'm going to go ahead and have a little introductory scene, and then we'll take a break. Sleeping place of the feathered swine. The 4 of you are treasure hunters from Fort Durin, a place where treasure hunters gather. You've never been on a mission or a job together before. This is your first time. Chasing down rumors of buried treasure in the mountains. You've been out for a few weeks, and you have found no buried treasure. Said rumors led to nothing. They were bullshit. And you are tired. You are hungry. Your equipment needs to be de-rusted and cared for. You have spent a lot of your resources to go out chasing after apparently nothing. And if you return to Fort Durin without something, then your nascent career as a treasure hunter is going to be dead before it even had a chance to get going. And so this is where you find yourselves. Maybe you're a little grumpy. Maybe you're handling this all with aplomb. I don't know. That's for you to decide. But you haven't seen or heard anything of interest for the last few days. You're not even in a place where there's any game. It's just slim pickings all around. But sometimes the sisters provide in their particular way. A collection of standing stones, a tree that has a mournful look to it. Let's paint the scene there. Anybody who wants to, tell me what makes this tree seem mournful, sad, miserable.
Its branches are sullen, like they're hanging down at the halfway point, almost touching the ground, almost like a willow tree.
The sap leaking from the tree trunk makes it look like it's crying.
The sparse leaves that are hanging down the same as the branches are a kind of a reddish, or just a reddish blood color.
Even though the branches are not as full as other trees we've seen, it almost feels like there's a shadow underneath it that the canopy doesn't account for.
A bit of that shadow is currently trembling, despite the fact there is no wind. And a sound from behind the tree. And with that, we'll take a 5-minute break. So yeah, this sound. And a tremulous waver of shadow from behind the tree. I'll turn the scene over to you now by simply saying generally, what do you do? Role play.
Companions, we may have a problem here. I whip out my chopped down wailing spear and take a few steps to the right to see what is behind potentially the tree.
Or someone else may have a problem. I'll step around to the left and see who there is to help.
Indeed. Alex, since you took the initiative, I'll let you make a hunt roll. And since you are gripping your spear for defense and no doubt strengthening of your heart, you can take 2 dice on that hunt roll. So do a hunt 2.
I have an 11. I get a token.
So we just look for the high dice. You have a 6 light.
Or a 6 light.
Excuse me. You have 6. So that's great. You get a token. And as the two of you are flanking this little outcropping of stones and tree, you see a man with a kind of a 6 o'clock shadow, hasn't shaved in a while, salt and pepper hair, looks about middle-aged, wearing a tattered black cloak and traveling clothes. He's fearsomely brandishing a stick in both directions at you and says, don't kill me.
We must help this man. I see what you're saying now. I may have been a little rash.
Teodon and Revel, what are you doing?
I think
you're muted.
I think that Teodon is he's coming up kind of with Alec on he's sticking closer to the tree, so you kind of see his top hatted head peek out from the side of the tree, looking at the helpless man, waiting for somebody to make a move that's not going to be him.
Yeah, it's a good chance to kind of check in with everybody. What do you look like? Alec, you've made the first move. Tell us what we see on screen.
So I am this kind of burly guy with a beard, pretty bushy, streaked with gray. I am wearing a leather whaling jerkin that is a little bit cracked at this point because I don't have any whale fat to like keep it oiled anymore. And I have these studded gauntlets, which are really gloves I would wear to help grip the spear when we would, hunt whales. So I have like I essentially look like a whaler that's walking around on land that has had better days.
I'll tell you what, treasure hunting, absolutely nothing compared to whaling when it comes to danger. So you are like, there's no job in the world more dangerous than being a whaler, right? So Revel, what are you doing right now?
So Revel looks kind of to the left, to the right, and then kind of just walks straight forward a little bit, spins around to kind of take a look at what's going on, and then walks up to the tree on the opposite side of where the voice came from.
Yeah. So this man who's there, you're all kind of flanking him. Seems incredibly harmless with his deadly tree branch, and he's also just doesn't seem very healthy and hale. Osto, what do you look like?
Osto's middle age, kind of long, wavy black hair and beard. Um, got the leather like gambeson on, so the long, uh, padded tunic kind of thing, and hanging on to got a couple throwing axes by my belt, but I have one of those horseman's picks, kind of like
Yeah.
but really kind eyes and just kind of like approaching like although he looks like this wild man of the roads, just like, hey, like what was my deity's name? Hashar Tipu, traveler, like what can we do to help?
I think with that gentle approach, he will carefully set down his fearsome tree branch, and he says, well met, sirs. I he straightens up. I am Felix Longworm, wizard, at your service. I have been up here for a number of days in this exact spot. I thought that I would certainly meet my end in this exact spot, and mayhaps I may still, but perhaps you, the four of you, have descended upon me at the urging of the sisters. Perhaps they have answered my prayers and sent you. You see, I was part of a party, a consultant of sorts for a group of mercenaries. We're on a particular job. We are in service to the terrible alchemist, and by terrible I mean that in the sense of his grandness, not because of any particular flaw in his personality. The terrible alchemist Unraga Prague. Do you know him? Well, Unraga Prague has sent me and my mercenary companions here, indeed, to that cave. And he points up, and you see a cave mouth a little ways ahead, up the mountain. We were to find a fabulous beast inside that cave, the legendary feathered swine. Do you know it? Well, the feathered swine, before hibernating, pulls most of the feathers from its pale pink skin to make a nest of it. Quite convenient, evolutionarily speaking, I would say. In any case, as the nest decays over the weeks of hibernation, it attracts a particular mite, a very, very fine small bug. That is, according to the alchemist Unraga Prague. The mites don't live long, but where their bites infest the feathered swine's skin with their own parasites, cysts begin to form full of vibrant green fluid. Each cyst forms a digestive sac full of ever-repopulating microscopic worms, copulating in the green liquid even as it dissolves them, feeding the feathered swine while it sleeps. It's a fantastic creature, a remarkable adaptation. The gods are indeed quite fascinating in how they create us. The feathered swine sleeps with its head retracted into the plump folds of its fatty flesh on a bed of rotting feathers. Quite an interesting vision, wouldn't you say? The alchemist has hired me and the mercenaries to extract these green glowing cysts from the feathered swine's body. They are apparently of incredible value for alchemical purposes, or at least that's my assumption, given his profession. We were given 3 ampoules of a particularly strong sedative and a brass syringe in which to deliver the sedative. The proper method for extraction of the cyst is to slice through the creature's subcutaneous fat underneath the cyst and tie off the feeding tubes connected to it before severing them. We were going to be paid an incredible sum of money for every cyst we were able to bring back. But the mercenaries went up into the cave a number of days ago, and they have not returned. And I don't really know what to do with myself. I don't possess the strength of character or courage to go look after them, or to find out what's going on. That's why you're here, I suppose. That's why the sisters have sent you. And he looks hopefully at you all.
I look at the mage. I'm like, friend mage, you seem to speak a lot and ask a lot of questions without giving us a chance to respond. Is that purposeful?
I have been accused of being rather terrified of silence, I suppose. I'm sure there's some sort of interesting psychological explanation for that. But, well, I guess it has to do with the fact that I've been here for several days by myself, speaking only to the occasional stray bird that happens to land on the nearby tree branch. The flora and fauna of this area, while quite sparse, are nevertheless incredibly fascinating. See feathered swine up in the cave. He's going on and on at some length.
What kind?
Say that again, Revel.
Birds. What kind of birds?
Oh my goodness. Well, I've seen a finch, I've had a sparrow, and I regret to say that the sparrow didn't really didn't survive the encounter. One does have to nourish oneself when they are paralyzed with fear at the top of a mountain.
You have a very unfortunate name.
I turn to Osto. Osto, how does your god feel about this? Maybe we could make some money? Is it a good idea?
Hashar does not have an opinion about money, but I do have a very strong one. And if we are able to be rewarded in the same manner as those mercenaries, I think this is an opportunity that we should investigate.
Splendid, Felix Longworm says. Just splendid. Well, here's the rub. I gave my spell book to one of the mercenaries because it contains a particular incantation that they thought would be of some use, and I didn't want to go into the cave myself, and so this felt like the best sort of middle solution. I gave them my spell book, and I would really love to have it back. I have access to quite a lot of silver back in Fort Durin, and I would be happy to pay it to you if you could retrieve my spell book. He tells you amount of silver that is the equivalent of 3 gold total, so not a bad score. He says, and I don't even want any cut of the cysts. You can sell any that you collect to Unrara Prague, completely free of my influence. He's paying a small sack of silver per cyst, which is a pretty good payment, by the way. It's equal to basically 1 gold per cyst that you recover. I don't want to cause any offense, but you all look a little bit down on your luck, and so I think this is going to be a really, really mutually beneficial arrangement.
It's most fortuitous that the sisters sent us your way.
Praise be. Revel, what do you look like?
So Revel is a little bit taller than the others, and looks like he kind of has a very fine fur, iridescent fur, and a couple of coiled horns coming off the side of his head, sir.
Yeah, because you're an unmasked Feyborn. Good. And I think before you go, Felix will say to you, Revel, friend, I want to express to you my keen admiration for Fey folk, for both true Fey and the Feyborn, and I would love to consult with you on matters related to Fey magic if you manage to survive, or I should say, when you return from the cave.
Oh, sure. And you have to tell me the origin of your name. It's rather unfortunate.
Oh, yes, Felix Longworm. As you might imagine, I received no small amount of japery from other children when I was growing up. Regrettably, longworm does not refer to any particular part of my anatomy. It's because our ancestor used to make a very brisk business out of tapeworms being sold to nobles for the purpose of weight loss. You know how the nobles are and their strange depredations. So, this is the name we were all cursed with. Oh well.
Fascinating.
So, with all that said, what is everyone thinking at this point? I think Felix has given you everything that you could need.
What do you think, Theoden, Revel?
Oh, let's go.
I need money.
I agree.
That is what I think. If it comes to that, let's do it. At least it's a lead, right? We need something to do.
Spellbook, cysts, bring them back. Simple enough.
I mean, who
What
doesn't
do we-
like cysts?
Yeah.
Indeed.
What do we imagine became of the mercenaries?
Felix has no idea. He's made no effort to go see.
Yeah, he did mention that he didn't even go in, right?
No, he didn't even go to the cave. He just left them. He gave them his spellbook, so he didn't have to go in the cave.
Well,
He will
him
give you
being
one.
out here.
He will give you one sort of clue. He says, "You will need the sedative and the method to deliver it. It is in the hands of one of the mercenaries, a woman called Aspeth Montesquieu. If you can find her, or perhaps what remains of her, you should be able to find the sedative. If it helps, she was the only woman among the mercenaries. But if you don't have the sedative, well, then extracting the cysts could be a much more complicated affair."
Seems reasonable.
And so we shall fast forward, it seems, to the cave mouth. And here I need to, I'll share bits of the map on a Google drawing as you explore places completely. But until then, until you've explored a section completely, I'm just going to keep it in kind of the realm of description. But the entry to the cavern is surprisingly wide, about as tall as man, and twice as wide.
Does this game care about marching order or anything?
I'll always call it out when it's important. I'll ask you. But otherwise, it's still fairly early in the day, and so there's a little bit of light that's just crossing into the cave entrance. And honestly, all you see at the cave entrance is rocks and shit and basically nothing else. It smells of cold, stale air. Maybe your eyes feel a little dusty. What do you do?
I am looking through my backpack because apparently we can pull a thing out. Like we have like 3 things that we can pull
You
out.
have
Is
3
that
open
true?
slots. Yeah.
I'm looking for a bullseye lantern of some sort.
I'm sure there's
Is
something
there
like that
one
in there. Probably something that'll do in any case.
Oh, there it is. A lantern that requires oil.
Yeah.
I will also put lantern oil in there too for 6 hours. That's totally something I would have because being a whaler.
Yeah, of course. What's the point of being a whaler if you don't, at the very least, have like a decent supply of whale oil? Revel, what are you doing right now as you get ready to head in?
So I see him pull out a lantern, and I'm like, well, shall we go? And I'll just walk in.
Very good. You do have a light source now, so that's good. The lantern probably provides enough light to see about halfway into the space that you walk into. Teodon, what are you doing as you go in?
He is beside the lantern. He's also carrying one of his own little candles. He's like this rail thin, fairly tall, not compared to Revel. He's got a top hat on with this long, stringy white hair. Basically, think if anybody has seen the 2004 Van Helsing movie, he's like the graveyard keeper from that movie.
Sure.
And he just has this little curved knife that he keeps out, but he is making a point to put Alec in between the cave and him, so he's like right behind the whaler.
Mm-hmm. Asta, what's your initial approach here?
Yeah, I think I'm going side by side with Alec.
So Alec, Osto, and seems like Alec, Osto, and Revel are kind of like going in side by side, and Teodon, you're right behind.
I've got your back. Don't even worry about it.
Exactly.
I mean, when Revel goes forward, I'll just be behind him with the lantern up. I'm pretty big dude.
I see.
I don't
So
know how
Revel's
tall
in the
Revel
lead.
is.
Yeah, very good, very good.
I mean,
Okay, well,
only because he said he was going in first.
Indeed. Revel, I will let you make just a basic sort of hunt roll to kind of see what's around. You can take 2 dice because of Alec's lantern. You got a 3, which means you encounter something terrible. So let's consider what that might be. I'll tell you what you see at a glance. As you kind of go in, and assuming you're going in at a careful pace, with the amount of light that you have, you can notice that a little ways up and to the right, there appears to be basically another cavern opening, a smaller little gap in the rock wall that goes into another section of the cavern. And then, of course, there's more cave ahead of you in the inky blackness that you can't quite make out. I will tell you, as the terrible thing you encountered, that little gap to the right has a very strong, pungent smell of like something recently burnt, like ash. But there's also like a dampness underneath it as well, and maybe even the smell of shit. What do you do?
So because you said there's shit in the cave. Is it if I look at it, do I recognize where the scat what type of creature the scat might have came from?
A very good question. I will let you examine it. Meanwhile, Alec, what are you doing?
When I see Revel ducking off to the right where that crack is, I will shine the lantern that way.
It appears to be just a short passage of tunnel that goes to something without going deeper in. You can't really see what it is.
Yeah, I am just supporting Revel and hoping that Osto and Teodon are making sure nothing terrible comes at us from deeper in.
Osto and Teodon, there is a deeper section in the chamber. It goes on far enough for the light not to penetrate the darkness. And so what do you both do?
I like wave Teodon to stay close to me. I used to be a miner, and so like I want to let my eyes adjust to the darkness a little bit and just kind of see what else is in the part that we can't see.
Yeah, I'm into that. I think if you don't take up your own light source, it's probably going to be just a 1-die hunt roll.
Okay.
If you want to, I mean, I have a little candle of my own.
You can
It's
light a
still
candle.
dim,
Yeah,
but
it might be. It might give you just enough. Yeah.
I will definitely kind of like, in my own way. It's not a lantern, but it's small and I got it.
You can take 2 dice with Teodon's candle.
Cool.
You also encounter something terrible with a 3. The hunt roll dice are not kind currently. All the good results happened outside the cave, it would seem. I'll tell you what you see, though. The cave that you're in right now, this chamber, appears to be about, as much as you've seen so far, it's about that much more bigger. And you see 2 things. To the right, there is another gap in the wall, another passage, similar to the one when you first came in, a little wider though. And then to the left, at the far end of this chamber, there is what appears to be a very, very narrow gap in the wall. Now, the terrible thing is, this is a pretty narrow gap. You could try to go through it if you think there's something there worth having. It is quite tight and could be dangerous to navigate because it's so tight. But just to make it a little bit more attractive, I will say that there is, if you just poke your head in there a bit, you can see that there's a dim blue phosphorescent glow coming from that tight crevice. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and make a Google drawing and do a little snap of the map so you can all don't have to keep trying to remember what I'm describing. So now that you've sort of seen the whole chamber, basically, I will clip that for you. And I'm going to drop that here, and then I will share this link with you, share the link with you momentarily. Apologies for people watching the video. This is riveting, I'm sure, me making a Google drawing. But feel free to make notes or whatever you want to do on this Google drawing. But there you have it. That's the initial chamber there. There might be other things to find inside the chamber itself, apart from just these passages. So let's go around the table. I'm interested in what everyone's doing. Revel, we know you're looking at the scat, and I'm not done with that yet. But I want to check in with the other characters as well. Theoden, what would you like to do?
Yeah, I think he kind of, leans the candle in close to this, looking at the blue glow with Osto, and he says, like, I think I could fit through there. There's something in there. And unless Osto says anything to him, or if Osto is like, yeah, you totally could fit in there, man.
Yeah.
Then he'll try for
Yeah.
it. And he'll kind of give like a worried glance back.
Osto's no stranger to tight squeezes in caves, but you are definitely more suited to it. So
I think we'll handle this with risk roll in just a moment. I want to check in with Revel. So Revel, I want to take a look at your skills, because your skills might be such that you could automatically identify what the scat is. Dexterity, spontaneity, stealth, and illusions, I don't think so. However, Osto has beasts, which would be helpful. And Alec has hunting, which might be helpful. And Theoden has vermin. You are the only person here who has no skill relevant to looking at the scat. Maybe Alec can give you a hand. I think your combined efforts, though, will be able to come up with the answer. It's human.
Do you see, Revel? It is human. Human feces.
Well, that's gross. I'm not a big fan of poop.
And yet there's something strange about it. Mark, what's strange about this human scat?
there are when you hold the lantern up, there are bits that gleam in it as if there's like flecks of mica or something shinier.
Intriguing. Treasure can be found in the most interesting of places. So Alec and Revel, okay, we've got your answer. What do you do then, Alec and Revel?
Alec, seeing that Revel has this in hand, pulls out his jar of glowworms, sets it down next to Revel. Make sure you bring that with you. And then I walk over to see what the other two were doing.
Could I use my torch instead?
You certainly
you-
can. Yes.
I didn't know that you had a light source. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered. If I see that, let me edit that then. Now that I've seen that you pulled out a
Okay.
torch and lit it, I'm like, you seem to have this in hand. And I walk over to see what the other two are doing.
Indeed.
I didn't say anything though until after you put down the glowworms. So you
To
come
be
back
fair.
and take it if you want.
Revel, you got a torch. What do you do?
So I once I light it, I'll go into that side
Mm-hmm.
channel to see kind of what I smell or see. But before I go, I'm going to take out of my backpack a cloth handkerchief
Mm.
and with my other hand that's not holding the torch. Hold it up over my face because yuck.
I like it. Make a 2-die hunt roll. A 2. You encounter something terrible. We'll come to that. Well, we'll set it up. You are making your way through this. It's a pretty cramped tunnel. Not as cramped as the one that Theoden's about to go into, but it's tight. And there is this strong smell of old ash, but also something vaguely damp. You actually don't have to go very far. It appears to be just a little pocket cavern with, I mean, yeah, it's just a little pocket cavern, not even a fifth the size of the one you were just in. You see the remains of a burnt out campfire, the bones of small animals in the coals. In a nook to the right of this little cavern is a small pile of shit, probably more human shit. But it isn't a very distinct nook. Someone made an effort, at least. And here's the terrible thing, because I owe you a terrible thing. You see the distinct glimmer of silver coming from somewhere inside said pile of shit. I'm going to also tell you that this little pocket cavern, the tunnel keeps going. There's more passage beyond it. Back to Theoden. Theoden, I think a risk roll is probably in order here to go through this tight passage, because if you've ever watched a caving video on YouTube, that is completely insane behavior. It's so dangerous. And the chances of you dying are so high that they put signs up that say you will die if you go further than this. And so this is what we're up against. The way the risk roll works is, well, let's just review the rules, because I haven't run this in a while. I think the rolls are somewhere on here. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making that up. Where are the rolls? Maybe they're not on this sheet. I guess they don't exist on this sheet. Huh. Well, that's a bummer. If I remember correctly, we all have to say what we think could go wrong, or basically like what will happen if you fail. And so I'm going to let everyone speak on this. I can always say only one or some of us can, but in this case, all 4 of us will give an idea, if we wish, of what will happen if you fail to successfully navigate this tight crevice. Whatever ultimately happens if you fail is up to me, but this just helps me generate some ideas. Who has an idea?
This cave doesn't seem so sturdy right here, and it could crumble down around him.
Mm-hmm. I would basically second that. I think that maybe you get one of your limbs trapped under a rock, and that's not good.
Yeah, I was say maybe it's a little bit more of a tight squeeze than Tatum expected, and there's something that is counting on it getting stuck in there.
Indeed. Any other thoughts?
would say that his part of his kit, part of his backpack, kind of snags as he's trying to sneak his way through, and something falls out.
Hmm. All interesting ideas. Some of them might even be good devil's bargains when it comes to it. Let's talk about dice. Theoden, do you have either a skill or a piece of equipment, or are you utilizing the environment in some way that would give you advantage here?
Well, depending on how you want to play my death skill.
Oh, so
other
maybe
than
you're not scared of death. That could be kind of interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
kind of been around it forever. It's like, like if drunk drivers get in car accidents, they don't get as hurt because they're just more relaxed.
Oh, that's
It's
interesting.
kind of something like
that's
that.
very gruesome.
where-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I kinda like
something
that.
like he isn't thinking about the danger. He's thinking about the fact that he needs money and he needs to get in there. And so it's more like he just kind of slithers through it almost. His frail little frame.
Well, you have vermin and traps too as skills. Like those also feel really relevant to this situation.
Yeah,
So,
trap was the next one I was gonna leverage.
you have one light die in any case. And now you can take a second light die if you accept a devil's bargain from one of us. I'll keep mine pretty simple and basically steal Revel's fail condition and say you accidentally lose something from your backpack. Any other offers?
I like the idea that even if he gets through, it still collapses partially, gets a limb stuck.
That's a rough one.
Yeah, I was gonna say whether he gets through or not, he can't come back the way he went in.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
real rough. These are rough
That's good.
ones.
Yeah. That is a little rude, and I like it very much. But,
Revel, do you have an offer?
You stole mine.
Yeah, I took your fail. Yeah.
I think I'm good for now. Thanks.
You got 3 choices. Mine is definitely the more lenient of the choices. The other 2 are
I
pretty
think
rough.
I'm
but it's
gonna
up to
be
you.
lenient. I'm gonna be lenient. So I'll take Jason's lose something.
I will not
offer
always
here.
be so gentle in my
Oh,
devil's
yeah,
bargains.
I completely understand.
Very good.
Do you want me to use a dark die as well?
Yeah, I think this is inherently dangerous. So it's going to be 2 light
Yeah.
and 1 dark.
Cool. 6 light.
Hey,
6 light. That's what you want. Fortune favors the bold. Be thinking about what the scene looks like, just like the navigating of the tunnel, getting through it. I'd like for you to really, this is kind of your moment to shine. It's going to take a minute, though. You got to carefully navigate this space. So Osto and Alec, in the meantime, what are the 2 of you doing?
I think it's a good time, like, to just check out the rest of the area. To start looking under rocks, poking things with my pick. Just
Yeah.
trying to see if anything was left behind here that could be of value.
Indeed. Make a 2-die hunt roll.
A 4.
Very good. Take your token, but you encounter something terrible, which we'll get to in a bit. And Alec, what are you doing?
Is that a larger cavern that continues deeper in off to our right?
Off to your right, if you look at the drawing, do you mean like to the right
Where-
of the narrow gap that
Yeah, where
Theoden's
it
in?
says 4
Yeah,
on the map.
it just keeps going. Like there's just more a wide cave mouth going somewhere else.
I'm going to start at least exploring that area slowly, carefully.
Lantern in hand, go ahead and do a 2-die hunt roll.
Six.
6. Take your token. You don't have to go very far. Just a little ways in leads you to another cave chamber that has an output. It keeps going, but you're in a sort of swell in between these 2 passages. And what you see is there are fragile stalactites hanging from the roof of the cavern over ridged layers of rock. And there's a central rupture in the cave floor. And then, of course, a tunnel wide enough for 2 or 3 people leads away at the far end. The air smells of wet salt, and it's quite cold. The ridged layers of the cave floor are visibly very slippery from your lamplight. You can see the slickness of it.
It smells like home.
Indeed, the slickness has a green tint to it as well. What do you do?
I am going to proceed forward.
And I have added this to the map as well, for anybody who's curious. Got to resize it, but it's on there. Roughly there. Okay, good. We'll check back in with you in a moment. Theodan, you are in this little small little pocket cavern, which also has an exit, and there's a pile of scat with silver gleaming. What do you do?
Oh yeah, he
Or I'm sorry, Revel. I'm sorry, I meant Revel. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Revel,
no, that's
that was
fine.
you. You're in the small pocket cavern with the
Right.
shit and silver.
So Revel picks up a one of the bones, and uses that as a poker
Mm.
to see what is in the feces.
Indeed. Go ahead and make a 2-die hunt roll. I like the way you use the bone there.
Let's see if I can roll under what I did last time. I think I did.
Oh. You got a 6. Yeah.
I was reading
Yeah, the wrong one. Take your token. Indeed, as you poke through, you find that someone has actually hidden their valuables underneath this, thinking, perhaps wisely, that no one would go poking around. You find 2 things. A decent-sized handful of silver. It's the equivalent of 1 gold, and you can mark 1 gold on your gold tracker. And a piece of parchment that has been carefully arranged so that there's a rock on top of it so that the scat doesn't foul it. But you can see it there. Do you take the silver?
I look around for something to possibly wipe it off with first.
Sure.
And then I'll take it.
Yeah, done and done.
Find a way to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, that's no trouble. And you have the note as well, or the piece of paper. If you open that, can you read?
Yes. Yeah, well, I don't have a skill. Does that matter?
No, just
Okay.
it's whether you think you can or not.
Yeah.
It's a love letter. It's a love letter. The author it's unclear who the author is, but it's addressed to someone who is maybe one of the lost mercenaries. It's a little unclear. There is a name, though. I'm getting the name for you now. Give me just one moment. It's addressed to Abernathy Voss Bakken. I shall type that here for you. And it's a very oh, my heart quivers with anticipation of your return, Abernathy, my love, and I say your name every night, and I'll say it every night in prayer to the sisters until you come home safely to me, Abernathy Voss Bakken, and so forth. That's all. Let's talk about this very, very tight passage, Theoden. Go ahead and describe how you navigate it safely.
Yeah, I think that you kind of see his slender frame disappear, and on his way in, he turns to Osto and he says, maybe sarcastically, pray for me, please. And he disappears, and he's got a kind of 45-degree angle his body in some places, and he does get caught up a few times, and all you hear are grunts coming through the cave. And after quite a while, you can hear him yell back that he's free of at least the tight spot for now.
The tight spot, yeah. You did not notice on your way in that your pack snagged and out fell your bottle of valuable perfume and shattered onto the rock. But the smell is suddenly much more pleasant, gang, than it was previously. Some might even say cloying. You must have complicated feelings about perfume, Alec, given your prior profession and the uses of whale fat. Nevertheless, Theoden, you've lost your perfume, but you have managed to navigate the tight passage. Let me tell you what you find. You get through this thin split in the wall. It goes down quite a ways and eventually opens up to a place where you can navigate it significantly more safely. I regret to inform you, however, that the way is blocked. Rocks piled up in the passage, allowing you to go no further. But you do see the source of the blue glow. There are lichens or mushrooms, perhaps, growing on the rocks, and they do have this blue fluorescent glow to them. It's unclear whether you can go any further. Maybe if you take the time to dig out, you could possibly do that. I'm open to that if you want to try. But I will tell you that on the other side of the rocks, wherever they head to, or whatever's on the other side of them, you hear what do you do, Taden?
He kind of gets close to the rocks, like the ones blocking the path, and he'll kind of, in a more hushed tone, yell through and be like, friend, hello? Is anybody in there?
The voice gets very quiet. And then you hear a woman's voice more clearly. They're inside me. Dear gods, they're inside me. Please, you have to help me. I can't go on like this. I can't let them take over my mind. And
Yeah,
they go silent.
Like, yeah, he'll ask what, and I assume he gets no response.
There's no response.
That.
No.
Yeah, and then he'll for a moment he'll just kind of keep trying to get them to speak again, until he kind of throws his hands up in a way and starts maybe looking around. He'll try to pull some of the mushrooms off the wall to keep for himself.
Sure.
If they keep emitting light afterwards.
Yeah. Let's get I actually have some options here. Let's somebody roll a d6 for me. Roll just a single die hunt roll to give me a result on a 6. That'd be great.
I got it.
That's always a good sign, I think, if I remember correctly.
What'd you get? 3? Yeah. Do you perhaps have a skill in plants or similar things, Taden? Doesn't look like it.
Nope.
Does anyone? No one really seems to. And so I will just tell you what you find visibly, or by description. It is a startlingly bioluminescent mushroom. If you collect enough of it, it casts a light equal to that of a lantern. It has a wrinkled flesh, that actually, well, it seems like it's almost quavering in your hand, the surface of the mushroom like the rolling waves of the sea. You can add that to your found equipment. And here we'll take a 5-minute break. Let's take a moment to orient everyone in time and space. I find that's always helpful. Presently, Theodan, covered in the smell of perfume, is at the end of this narrow, thin passage where there is glowing blue mushrooms, a bunch of rocks blocking the passage, and a woman in distress on the other side of those rocks. Osto is in the main chamber still, has Theoden's back, I gather. Presently, Alec is getting ready to navigate this little slick cavern section where there is a big gap in the floor. And I can actually share more of the map for where Revel is. The little pocket cavern with the old campfire. Take a little snip of that real quick so you can see it. There we go. Drop that in here. Kind of move it around and resize it. It is roughly, it's not quite right, but that's the general direction of it. So at this point, I'm going to just head over to Alec. Alec, you've said that you're going to make your way across, and that seems like a reasonable thing to do. You discover very, very quickly that the floor is much slipperier than you initially anticipated. It is a risk roll to cross the passage. There is only one fail condition. If you fail the die roll, you are going straight down into that pit. Do you have a skill or piece of equipment that will help you here? Bearing in mind that the slipperiness kind of comes upon you, right? Very suddenly.
I have athletics.
I'll take it.
I can also use my spear to steady myself as I start slipping.
Between the two of them, I think you've got your light die. And Billy, you can make the devil's bargain.
Let's see here. Well, as we said earlier, simple is better. I think that
Can be, yeah.
No matter what, using your spear to balance you will end up losing it into the
you lose it down the hole. That's a tough die. Do you want it?
No, not my spear. My spear is important. It's like an attachment to my former life, which I miss dearly.
Indeed. You have one light die. It's not inherently dangerous yet, so go ahead and roll risk one light.
Is a good devil's bargain, though. Who got me to talk about my spear?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, the good ones are the ones that are tough to take, right?
That's bad. Can I spend some?
I only needed one light die, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I wasn't risking my my body here.
No, not yet. No, it hasn't reached that level yet. But so you can roll again with just a single light.
I'll take the 3 for the light. That's fine. That happens.
Well, in that case, you would fail, and I would say that if you want to add a dark die now, you can roll to try to get a better result.
Sure.
Failure means going down the pit. So
go ahead
5. Go ahead and roll again. Light, one dark.
I get to roll them both again?
Yeah, you get to roll them both again. Yeah.
Oh, so neat. Okay, here we go. I got a 5 light that time.
Okay, very good. It's a success with a complication. I think the complication is I'm going to give you a condition. You do you do manage to safely cross, but I think you take a little spill right at the end that causes you to get this slick green muck all over you, and somebody give you a condition covered in green goo. But you otherwise will be able to navigate to the other side, no trouble. Well, besides that trouble, relatively trouble-free. You, of course, have the option of adding another dark die and going for a 6.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Revel, once you've got your silver in your love letter, what do you do?
So I will kind of go back to the main chamber a little bit, not all the way, but enough where I can stick my head out and say,
Just Osto.
well, I'll stick my head out and say, without providing a lot of detail, hey, I found the mercenaries.
You're muted, Osto.
Oh, what's their condition?
Well, they're kind of dead. And they were shitting in their own campsite.
Well, that can do that, I suppose. Are the bodies there?
No, just bones
Oh,
and their feces.
anything of interest they left behind?
A love note.
Hmm.
But there is a passage out. So in a different direction.
Seem to have no shortage of those.
Indeed. Teran, do you come back with your blue mushrooms or what?
Yeah, so at some point you hear more grunting, and he kind of shows back up and leans against the wall because he's completely exhausted from doing that and from traveling. And he'll say there's a small chamber, a small chamber in there, and there's rocks blocking the rest of the way. So all I found were these, and he'll hold up these glowing mushrooms. But I may have found the mercenaries.
two lines on the mercenaries at this point. Very good, very good. Alec, are you gonna press deeper? Are you gonna?
Well, as Theoden comes out of that tight niche and says that, you hear from down the other hallway, "Sea devils be damned!" as I fall and slide towards the hole.
Indeed, indeed. Well, Alec, what do you do? I mean, you're on the other side. It was kind of a pain in the ass to get across this slippery cave. Do you keep going or do you wait for the others?
I will wait for the others at this point.
Well, let's see what the others are doing then.
Yeah.
Yeah, Theoden will explain that it was specifically a woman's voice, and she was babbling on about something taking over her body. There's a lot of rocks back there. I'm not the biggest guy. I figured I'd come back and tell you guys first, so we knew the general direction to go.
Was she the one with the spell book?
I believe she's the one that had the sedative. And
she's
stuff.
sedative.
Sedative, right? And she was talking.
She was whining, but yes, she sounded very hurt, and she stopped talking. I couldn't get her to respond anymore, so she's probably dead. But she does have the stuff we're looking for.
Behind.
And she did say something about things taking over her body. So also take that into account.
Well, that seems like a pretty tight squeeze for all of us. And if the way is blocked, there's no reason to press through. Maybe there's another way.
Yeah, there must be, unless she kind of blocked herself in somehow. I don't know. But it's where, I mean, we have ways to go in here. There are many paths we can take.
Best to make a survey of the place before committing on the hard way.
Yeah, if it comes to it, I guess I'll try to dig the rocks out.
I'd
rather not.
I'm no stranger to digging rocks out. So
this is true. If it comes to it, you can dig the rocks out.
What if the lovely cloying smell coming off of Theoden right now?
Oh yeah, he smells like
she
the
wearing
opposite of... shit.
Perfume.
I'll just ask if the love letter was from him.
No, I haven't written a love letter in many years. And he'll go to pull his perfume out and then probably realize that his bag is torn in the corner or something, and he'll curse, and he will say we're better off for it because that smell, it doesn't bother me, but it does seem to be bothering a few of us.
Well, where is everyone headed? You got two, basically at this point, the way you've set it up is you have two ways to go. One is going to require you to cross that slippery muck passage where Alec is, and then the other is on the other side of the little camp.
Seems like the way that Alec went is the most direct way if we want to see if we can find another place to connect to where she was.
To where the woman was, yeah, the woman
Yeah.
mercenary. Yeah.
I think at this
Elspeth
point
was her name.
I think that Theoden will reach into his slightly ripped pack and pull out his 60 feet of rope that he's got.
Woohoo!
And see if maybe he can toss it over to Alec so we can all not share this, at least the same minimal fate that he shared in injury.
It's very slippery. Slick too. One of those words.
I think if you have the rope, if somebody can also provide a grappling hook, I'll let you all cross safely with no die rolls.
I could just take two slots if you want.
Or like a spike or just something to anchor it, I think would be.
Yes, I'll take 2 slots in my backpack for a rope and an anchor.
Very good.
With this rope and grappling hook, we can see what's down in that tunnel.
You mean down the hole?
That hole that's right there.
You certainly could.
First things first.
You can all, as long as you spend those slots, Ted, and everybody can cross. You can take the time to safely cross. I think that's perfectly fine. And does everyone safely cross?
Yeah.
Yep.
He definitely wants to stick with the group.
Well, you're still in this chamber. You haven't continued on. There is a hole in the middle of the floor. Alec doesn't bring up a completely unreasonable point about maybe what might be down there.
Would you like me to see what's down there? Like just with the lantern?
Sure.
Yeah.
I will creep to the edge since I'm already covered in goop anyway, and use the lantern to like see what's over the edge.
I assume you're anchoring yourself with the rope, or you're like holding onto the rope.
Absolutely.
Make a 2-die hunt roll.
Three. Something terrible happens.
Well, you encounter something terrible. It's slightly different. My background is what you see. The hole is nearly filled to the brim with green goo, much more vivid and green than the muck on the cave floor. It's so thick you can't even see what's on the other side of it.
We're not going that way. It's filled with green goo. It's not very
Does
pleasant.
it have like a smell to it or anything?
Well, that's an interesting question. Let me take a look at the module and see. There might be some guidance. Yes. It has the sweet smell of decay.
Yeah, big sniff in, and he's like, okay, I understand.
The stuff in the cysts is also green, right?
Yes, it was described as sort of a bright green.
Maybe we could just pull a few buckets of this stuff out and call it a day.
I'm going to take a second thinking about everything that's happened to this point and what I know about parasites, and take a closer look at this goop with the lantern and see if there's anything living inside of the goop.
That is a great move. Go ahead and make a. I'm not sure I'm going to give you the benefit of the lantern again here. Are you using some other piece of equipment?
Poke it with the spear, right?
No, I'm not poking with the spear. Care about the spear a lot. You know what? I will pull out some vermin repellent and see if anything inside of the green goop moves away from it as I like spray one of my uses down.
Very clever indeed. Make a 2-die hunt roll.
Six.
Take your token. I will give you your answer. There's no parasites inside this goo. This is not the cyst that you're looking for.
I breathe a sigh of relief because I was worried that I might be covered in these things.
No, you are not. You are safe. So,
okay.
And indeed, this is just a sort of a strange discharge or residue of some sort. Yeah.
Your plan to use this as the cyst will not work, unfortunately.
Oh well.
Revel, what are you doing right now?
So I'm suggesting that we move along and keep looking.
Very well.
I don't think there's anything here for us.
I will press forward. So the tunnel dips down about 15 feet and then levels out at a slightly wider curve. There is the smell of copper and the lingering scent of burnt meat. But this is otherwise just more tunnel. If everyone's going, I need a marching order.
Fine, going first.
I'll be right behind you.
Okay. I'll be behind him then with the lantern held high.
Theoden is watching your backs.
Indeed, no doubt, with great care. The tunnel goes down a bit. At a certain point in the bend, it cuts off to a little crevice on the left. But then it keeps going deeper. Does anyone investigate the crevice, or do you?
Yeah, I would like to check out that crevice in there.
Make a hunt roll.
1 dice or 2?
Make your case for the second die.
If I assist him with the lantern, can I also be subject to the possible terrible thing that happens?
Yeah, I'm into that.
Okay.
All right, let's do it. A 5.
5. This is it. This is probably where Elspeth is. You can tell that this crevice is roughly the same width and in probably the right space to be connected to the bit that Theoden went in. It's not quite as narrow, though. It's not as perilously narrow or thin as what Theoden went into. There's also a little bit of blue glow as well coming from, and maybe even a little bit of ragged breathing coming from that direction. You encounter something terrible. Specifically, the glass lantern encounters a rock as you sling it forward and smash the glass, and therefore lose your lantern. But that is probably where Elspeth is.
I'll call out her name, and Elspeth, we're here to help.
There's no response. Except for maybe just like a bit of moaning.
Yeah, when Osto calls her name out, he will kind of push himself a little forward with Osto and his little candle, and he'll basically point out the same thing you said. This kind of seems like it would connect with where I was. So yeah, I'm with you. Hand on his shoulder, about a step behind him.
I just realized I've been saying Alspeth. It's Aspeth, not Elspeth. I put an L in there for some reason. It's okay. Okay, so Osto, you are going in then.
Yes.
And Taden, you're going behind. Alec, what are you doing?
Can I ask for like one narrative thing that comes along with that?
I love it. Yeah, go ahead.
Since I had a lantern with 6 hours of lantern oil in it,
Yeah.
could it have flared up for a second so we can get at least a glimpse for like, a second or two of what the whole cavern looks like?
Well, I think there's also the blue light of the fungus, right? So that will
yeah.
help you go the rest of the way, I think. So I think it's no trouble there. But I like what you're suggesting there. Revel, are you going in with them?
Yeah,
you want to
and
continue
I have a
down?
torch. So it's brighter. I still have my torch.
Oh yeah, and there's a torch as well. So yeah, you're not completely out of light sources here. You can go down this passage. It's not nearly as long this way as it was when Taden had to navigate the other side. In fact, it's not even a fourth of that length. It's quite short. You get there. There is still quite a lot of that blue glow from the mushrooms, and it's essentially just I wouldn't even say it's a tunnel. It's just a crevice. It's just the end of the other crevice, or the end of the other tunnel. You do see the rocks that are blocking the way from the other side. You can't miss it. Laying on the ground, there's a bloated, bubbled, pale lump of flesh resembling the lower part of a human leg, only because of the pink gilded sabaton still covering the foot, though it looks set to burst free. The stump at the knee is ragged but bloodless. The stagnant burnt meat stench is strong here. There is, of course, the soft, shivering, half-suppressed breaths of Aspeth. From somewhere up on the right wall, it would seem she's made herself a little nook in a bit of shelf in the wall. It's not too high up, just 15 feet. Climbing it's no trouble. But yeah, it seems that she's wedged up there.
That leg is not her leg.
We don't know that. It's just on the ground.
Okay. Oh, it's not like I pictured it. It was like underneath the rocks with the rest of the body.
No, it looked like it was like maybe severed there.
Oh, okay.
Or thereabouts. And there's the smell of burnt meat coming from Aspeth.
It's another mercenary.
Yeah.
Or she just took her leg off and singed it closed.
We're putting 2 and 2 together here, it would seem.
Yeah, like if Osto kind of starts stepping forward towards that, he'll kind of at least try to put his hand on him and tell him that she talked about something taking her over. So let's not just climb ourselves up there into whatever trap if she's already taken over. I don't know what was taking her over, but she said something was.
Alspeth Montague, are you still alive?
She hisses down. It's Aspeth. I'm not sure why you put an L in there. And then she says, yes, I'm here. One of those things tore my leg off at the knee. But I'm a survivor. I've closed up the wound. I would live if not for the things I can see crawling about in the meat.
What took your leg off?
Revel, since you were the last one in, upon the posing of the question, what took your leg off, you might hear deeper down in the tunnel that connects up to this a sound from somewhere deeper in the cave.
I think there's another mercenary down that path.
There's your answer. Aspeth says, there was somebody already in the cave. Someone was in this place before us. We were unprepared. We were ambushed. Please. I can feel them burrowing into my mind. I have a knife. I don't have the ability to do it myself. Please end it. Kill me. Please kill me. And you're still just talking to her from down below the rock shelf.
There's like a lump of like meat. Like I look over at anybody. I'm like, anyone want to see if it's got parasites all over it?
Yeah, Theoden will. If somebody goes with him over there to the leg,
I'll go with him.
he will definitely examine it the best he can.
Make a hunt roll.
Okay. You just want 1 die? 2? I do have death. I've been around bodies a lot.
I mean, I don't need a die roll to tell you that it is a human leg.
Yeah.
It's in a bit of like armor, though it is swelled and ready to burst out of it. If the question you're asking is instead, is there some kind of infection or something crawling around in it?
Is it not normal in some way? In some way that I've maybe been accustomed to, obviously being around bodies.
Yeah,
and
I think vermin is the better skill here. Go ahead and roll 2 dice.
Okay, perfect. 3.
You encounter something terrible. I need to take a moment to read this little bit of the module.
As he's reading, I turn and look at whoever is standing near me. I'm like, what do you think it explodes with parasites everywhere all over us?
Yeah, that's when Theoden like looks back. He's like, don't say that. Don't say that about.
Should ask her if she has these cysts.
The flesh is swelling for the precise reason Alec has identified. It is swelling to burst. And indeed, as you begin to examine it, Theoden, it bursts on you, spraying you with not blood, but some kind of muck. It sprays inside your nostrils. It gets a little bit inside your mouth between your lower lip and your lower gums. Maybe even just a tiny little bit in your tear duct. What a fun opportunity for a risk roll. Everyone gets to say what could go wrong here if this die roll goes poorly for Theoden. Feel free to get really creative with the fiction, even though you don't know exactly what you're up against.
I think that because it gets in its eye, it blurs his vision.
A gentle outcome. I probably won't go with that one. Osto, any thoughts? Revel, any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say
because it's gone in his nose, it works its way down to his lungs and he has difficulty breathing.
A better, less gentle outcome, but not entirely terrible yet. Any thoughts?
I would say where it's hit the skin in a couple of places and also like in the nostril, it almost looks like blackheads start to form and they get bigger and bigger, except that they're green, not black. in the places where, like in the mouth, it's pretty becomes pretty difficult to talk. Your tongue slapping around them doesn't feel very good.
Now we're cooking with Crisco. I like these. Let's go ahead and get a die on the table. Do you have a skill that's going to help you here?
I mean, I don't really think maybe vermin. But like just physically getting out of the way or something, no, unless surprise. But
Oh, I like
wouldn't say so.
surprise because this is pretty surprising, I would say.
I am surprised by it, I
Yeah.
would say.
Go ahead and, even though Alec kind of telegraphed what was going to happen,
Oh,
yeah. I'll give you the light die. Devil's bargains. I'm going to make just one offer. The offer is going to be, I'm going to steal Chris's fail condition and say that enough of it gets in your eye that makes your vision blurry.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Go ahead and note that as a condition. And let's get dice on the table. 2 light, 1 dark.
Blurred vision. 2 light, 1 dark. 6 light.
Hey, you're otherwise safe from whatever other perils might have been in this muck. Go ahead and just give me the scene.
Yeah, so he was averse to getting close, other than, maybe examining. But something kind of starts drawing him in. It's like the swelling almost becomes hypnotic in a way. So he gets a little too close, bursts, muck everywhere. He goes reeling back into the wall and screams. And he like starts wiping his face as much as he can. And then he's just like, this is where his like how kind of slimy he is as a person. He's just like yelling for everybody else to help him. Like instantly goes to like yelling everybody's names and just saying like, help, 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 help.
How is everybody else reacting? I want to just know what the scene looks like here.
Yeah, no, I think since Asta was right there, I immediately like pull a cloth and start trying to get as much off as possible, especially around the face.
Yeah, and he starts like whimpering. Oh God. Thank you.
As I realize how loud he's being, and I heard that thing, I turn around and watch the opening, waiting for something terrible to come around the corner.
Probably a good move. Revel, what are you doing?
I'll offer my torch in case he wants to burn any of the stuff off of his skin. Probably not the smartest idea.
Can I edit?
Humans.
Can I edit what I said just a little bit?
Sure.
Not only will I turn around and watch that, I will actually move to the entrance and hold it so that we can have an escape route if we need it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, like the initial down-sloping entrance. Yeah. Love that. Okay, good. Yeah, you do. I mean, you do have a way to run back, and there are no monsters behind you, as far as you know. So,
as far as we know,
yeah, indeed. There's just a big, weird green goo pool somewhere behind you.
Yeah, that tunnel went farther in, didn't it? That we turned off of.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's the thing. The little crevice where Aspith is just a little side thing. Revel is still kind of in the main portion of the tunnel that curves and keeps going. That's where the sound came from. That's where
that's when I'm trying to hold that position just in case something comes down.
Absolutely. Well, okay, so the situation's under control, though. I mean, you can get Theoden cleaned off, and your vision is blurred, Theoden. Aspeth urges you again, Osto. She says, please, there's not much time. Please, you have to help me. I can't do this myself.
Are your eyes clear enough to use your little knife, Theoden?
Yeah, he's kind of like clinging to you a bit, and like you're his savior. He's stuck to you now after that. And he's like wiping tears and muck out of his face, and he says, and he holds it out to you like you want to take it from him. That's what he thinks. He doesn't know if you want him to kill her or not.
Yeah, I think Osto like pauses for a moment and holds his gaze, like, you're not okay, and takes your knife.
It's no trouble
And
to scamper up to her ledge if you want.
yeah, I'll go up.
Let me tell you what you see now that you're up there. She is hiding in this nook. You can see the remains of a dead torch that she used to burn the stump of her leg. She is not in great condition, obviously. And you can see the tiny little mites in the charred flesh of her stump. But she claims that she can feel them inside of her deeper. Her breathing is ragged, and she says, how did you find us? We haven't even been here that long. Were you sent for us?
Yes. Felix, the wizard.
The damnable wizard.
Coward.
She says, I don't think there's anyone else left. I've been hearing their screaming deeper in the caves. I don't know what these things are that attacked us, but I think that I'm going to turn into one of them if you don't help me right now.
Do you have the sedatives?
Even after all you've seen, you wish to enrich yourself with the cysts from the feathered swine?
That's the only reason we're here.
It is fool behavior. You should turn around now while you still can.
We should, but we can't.
I have the sedative. She gives it to you. Some of it's been used because she used it on herself. She says, but there are still ampoules of the sedative. And it's in a little roll, the vials of the sedative, plus this brass syringe. She says, don't take too much, or you'll kill the creature. It will starve to death. The cysts are how it feeds. But having thought on the matter, maybe you should kill the creature.
Take that into consideration when we find it.
Good. And she has other stuff with her as well, her equipment. But right now, she's mostly just focused on you, helping her do the deed.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. I take Theoden's knife and try not to get too close. Hold out my hand to her throat and give her one last chance to say, this is what you want.
It is. And then she says, I send up all my curses and damnations to the sisters. Lying and thieving whores that they are.
Hopefully Hashar will send you along your way then and just bring it across.
Indeed. I want to check in with Revel and Alec, who are watching the tunnel. I think I can probably give you the next bit of the map here. Oh yeah, certainly. Let me clip that and drop it in. Let's see here. But yeah, it's just kind of a twisty S-shaped tunnel that continues on. The middle connecting crevice portion is much longer than it appears on the top of there, and it connects up. But in any case, yeah. Let me take a look at the module, make sure there's nothing I need to be aware of. Yeah. You both hear the agitation of these creatures further ahead. It seems like they're almost having like a conversation with each other in their weird gibberish. You hear at least two, maybe even a third.
That seems bad.
I think the one said it's hungry.
Yeah. What do you think it eats? Us.
Well, I mean, we don't have too much of a choice. We can go back to the campsite, or we can go forward once they're done with whatever it is they're doing.
How do you think we should deal with these things? You have fire, some amount of fire. We could use more fire. That's how I tend to deal with vermin. I have some of this still. I pull out a couple more vials of vermin repellent. I have no idea how effective it'll be.
I mean, we can try it. We could see if we can sneak past. That's what I would do.
Should we creep forward and scout it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should.
All right. I start creeping forward.
The tunnel turns steep and winding, climbing in total about 30 feet. It's cluttered with stone and mineral growing over each other. The smell up ahead is cold, damp. The air is vaguely acidic on your tongue. Thick splashes and dragging streaks of blood decorate the stone. And the sounds of the creatures has actually gone quiet. It eventually opens out into a quite large cavern. And here, I will give you your first set goal. Your goal: find an ancient treasure. You can go searching the cavern to find said ancient treasure, or you can cash in 3 tokens to automatically find the ancient treasure. But if you wish to proceed forward into the cave, let me know. Alec?
I'm going to cash in 3 tokens to find the ancient treasure.
Do you have
I have
3?
3 tokens.
Okay.
Yeah, I have exactly 3.
You don't even have to go into the cavern before you find it. The light from the torch lands on a cave pearl the size of a child's skull, perforated with small holes that seem to crisscross through its center if you peer inside. Absurdly tiny, translucent baby crabs are crawling out of the pearl. It is a magnificent natural find, the sort of thing that would end up in a museum in the capital of Ambaret. Does anyone in the party have appraisal or some kind of skill that would tell you the value of the thing? Then I shall just tell you it's very valuable.
I mean, as a smuggler, I might be somewhat.
Are you a smuggler?
But I don't have I am a smuggler, but I don't.
I
have
like.
skills.
I think that's a good enough reason. I think It's worth a lot. It's worth 6 gold in total.
I mean, I reach out and pick it up.
It's yours. You spent the tokens, so you can have it.
I
That is-
I look over at Revel. I'm like, how much do you think this is worth?
I don't know, not much. It's got a bunch of holes in it.
Well, if it was worth much, I was thinking about selling it and splitting it with you all. But since it's not, I will just keep it for myself. And I'll put it in my pocket, in my bag.
Very good. Very good.
I was going to too. That I can't believe you said that.
The goal is met, but the cavern is still there. You have not actually searched the cavern proper yet. I will give you a little bit more information about the cavern, though. The cave floor in the immediate vicinity of the cavern dips and almost undulates into a wide pit surrounded by boulders and stalagmites, beyond which large ridges of the cave floor rise up in mounds. You can see more of that soft blue light in the distance. No evidence, at a glance at least, of the creatures making the noise. There are plenty of places in here for them to hide. Let's check back in with Osto and Teren. The business is done. Do you want to go through her equipment as well, or?
Yeah, I just want to see if there's anything valuable.
Yeah, I'm just going to give you basically 2 pieces of equipment from the open slots, so you can just choose 2 things and add it to your found equipment. Tayden, what are you doing? Or yeah, since you didn't go up there.
Yeah, he's up on his feet now, dusted himself off a bit, and he, depending on, he'll probably yell up and ask Osto, like, "Is the deed done? Did you do it?"
I think I come down and just silently nod as I'm down, wiping his blade off and handing it back to him.
You did a noble thing, my friend. And he gives him like kind of like a pat on the back, like he wasn't just acting like a child a second ago. It's like, you did good.
Mm-hmm.
Did she have the stuff we need? The wizard told us about.
About the little roll of animals.
And is there a syringe in there as well? The
There is.
administration? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Well, and he kind of keeps dusting himself off. So I suppose we move forward, right?
Yep, let's find the others.
I'll put you all back together at the mouth of this new large cavern that dips down. The floor is actually a bit of a descent, opening up into a bunch of boulders and stalagmites. And this actually feels like a good place for our last break, too. We'll take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and do the last hour. So you're all together at the entrance to this quite large cavern, significantly larger than the entry cavern as well. And whatever was in here, or you can't see the entire cavern with your current amount of light. You'll have to go in deeper. But whatever was making that noise is not making that noise anymore. And there's no apparent, at a glance, sign of them. They must have heard you and ran off, thereby making the cave completely safe, no doubt. So, what do you all do?
I'm gonna pull out my jar of glowworms, and this is a cave. I assume the floor is like uneven and kind of like messed up and whatnot. Having
Yeah,
been in
and you
some
actually have to
caves.
descend a little bit to get down to the proper space there.
I'm gonna put the jar of glowworms on the ground and let it roll down in there.
Ah, make a 2-die hunt roll.
4.
It rolls down. It kind of stops behind a large cluster of boulders and stalagmites. And you hear, and then you hear a slight crack of glass and the the jar of glowworms is gone. Erase that from your found equipment. But it got as far as this particular cluster of stalagmites and rocks. And you get a token as well.
They're there.
Yeah.
I start creeping.
Yeah, I mean, I do have some glowing mushrooms I could toss about if we want to
They put off some
maybe
light, yeah.
lay some eyes on some on maybe on the outskirts. If we know that something's in the center, maybe kind of if I can just hand toss them off to the sides just to see if there's anything waiting for us on anything other than the middle.
You have to eventually go down there to make any progress in the cave. There's not much cave shelf where you're standing currently.
Yeah, I start creeping down there.
Yeah, I'd like to, if I can, I'd like to use a ritual.
Oh yeah, good ritual. We haven't had a ritual yet. What are you gonna
So I want to, I have hand,
do? Mm-hmm.
and I'd like to use that to move the torch ahead of us, and we can kind of creep behind it.
I like that very much. Let's take a look at your. Let me get a quick read on the exact text of the ritual, which says, "Concentrate mentally to move a small object you can see." Okay, I like that. That's really good, actually. I don't need you to make die roll. I like the way you've described it.
Darn.
I like the way you described. Yeah, no, I like the way you described it. Are you going to be approaching? Or are you going to send the torch near where that cluster of rocks is?
So we don't have a choice really, but to go past the rocks.
If you want to explore the cave further, yeah.
Okay. So I will. I'll push the torch ahead of us towards those rocks, and then whoever wants to creep. I think Alex said no. Somebody already said that they're going to kind of creep down. I'll do the same.
Yeah, I think if you want to go, if you want to, like, if you wanted to, like, I like it. I think there's a couple of options here. One is you could maybe use the torch to, like, draw the things away, in which case that will be a risk roll. Alternatively, you can just see what happens, and the torch will at least, like, be the first thing they react to, and so you have a moment to, like, assess and react. But if you want to do the more, like, kind of the more cool thing, which is to maybe, like, draw them out in a way, that is going to be a risk roll. I'll leave that in your hands, Revel. What do you think?
I have a different way to do the draw them away, so I want to see how they react first.
Very good. The torch can go ahead, and they reveal themselves completely. They come out from behind the outcropping of rocks. There are 3 of them. Well, let's describe them. Well, interestingly, they don't have much of a text description here. So what I'll do instead is clip a picture and then do my best to describe them. I'll drop this into the Google Drawing. They are about the size of a man, maybe a little bigger. They are swollen all over their bodies, puffed up, covered in huge nodules. Their eyes have been sealed up by this puffy growth. And one of them is, as in the picture here, chewing a severed arm from whatever little toothy maw, to use a favorite term on Critical Role, a toothy maw, chewing on it. And there's so many toothy maws in that campaign. And they are reacting to the torch, but their senses are clearly heightened in some way because they immediately are aware of Alec and Revel. They lumber forward. Merciful me.
So how fast are they?
Do you want to test it? What do you do?
I mean, how fast are they moving right, like right now? How fast are they moving?
Right now they're going at a casual pace, but
Okay.
it doesn't seem like they have to.
Okay.
They're
So um I'm going to use another ritual. Although I think I did screw up my original plan because illusion is a skill, not a ritual on my sheet. So I don't know what that does as a skill.
Oh, do you have? Oh, what do you have? You have a
Illusions as the Fae.
Oh yeah, but you have a hand ritual though, so I guess you could have done.
No, I had the hand. That was, I mean, yeah, but I was going to lure them away with an illusion. But
Oh,
I
I
don't
see.
have that as a ritual, so I don't know if the skill just means I can like see through
Yeah,
them.
I think like see through them or be aware
Okay,
of them
all right.
or like
Sure.
understand them in some academic sense.
That
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So I do have another. I'm going to use circle.
Okay.
I'm going to quickly take out a pouch of salt
Mhm.
and try and put it around me. And I'm not sure how close Alec is to me. If I can try and put it around both of us.
I think because the two of you kind of split off from the group, I think it's just
Oh,
going to be
okay.
the two of you.
Yeah.
I like this as a risk roll. Everybody gets to say what could happen if it goes wrong. I'll keep it simple. The circle doesn't work, and you have to fight these things. I'm open to more creative things than that, though. I'm open to at least hearing them.
And I'm open to a devil's bargain as well.
Yeah, those will come.
Yeah, I think that if it doesn't work, that they've picked up on something about you specifically being different than maybe Alec as trying to keep them away, and they will want to gnaw on your arm.
Don't you say.
Any other thoughts on what could go wrong? Oh, you're muted, Alec.
I think it works just fine, but these things don't try to inflict violence on us, but the parasites can come right through the circle.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Which means we can't do anything to them either.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That might be a good devil's bargain, actually. Okay, so I'll give you your light die for spontaneity, Revel. Let's talk devil's bargains. Everybody can make an offer.
Because the cave floor is damp, the salt only lasts for a short time before dissolving away.
Oh, so you don't have a lot of time. Oh, that's pretty good, actually. I'll second that one. I like it. Like you have just basically, it just buys you a little bit of time.
I third that. I can't think of anything better.
Or no matter what, the circle doesn't last long. Yeah.
Yeah, I will. I'll fourth it, I suppose. That's a very good one.
Let's see.
Seems like there are no other offers. I'll also offer up, no matter what, you have to deal with the spray of the infection, which was what Chris said as a fail, more or less.
I think I'm not going to take one. I usually almost always do, but I don't think I'm going to take a devil's bargain.
One light, one dark.
All right. So it was successful, and it was also successful at raising my root. Is it greater than or equal to?
It's got to be greater than. So what'd you roll?
I got 2 5s.
Yeah. And what's your current ruin?
3.
Okay, yeah. So your ruin's going up.
So it's greater or equal?
Greater.
It's got to be greater. So like since 5 is higher than your ruin, it goes up by 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant on the dice. So okay.
Yeah, and a tie the forest always wins, I think, is the bit that
Oh,
Jesse
that
put in
might
the
be
book.
true. Yeah, on a tie it might go up as well. I can't remember, but
Yeah.
you mean the two dice. Oh yeah, the dark is
Yeah.
always higher than the light, no matter what. Yeah, if they tie. Yeah, so you got a 5 dark, and that means your ruin goes up. You do succeed. There is a complication. I'm going to make the complication quite bad. You can't add a die to help, unfortunately. The circle. Here's the complication. There are 2 more of these things flanking from behind that Osto and Theoden have to deal with immediately. They've played their own little game, it would seem. But please describe how you and Alec are safe, at least, Revel.
So I quickly draw a circle with the salt, and just a very light. It's a little bit because the torch goes out as well, so it's a little bit lighter than the blackness that we're in. Just a kind of a shimmering. I wouldn't even say light, but just kind of a shimmering, less dark wall is around us.
That'll keep those 3 busy for a bit. But Osto and Theoden, these things moved with almost cat-like grace, and they're right behind you. Despite their bulk, they move with a nimbleness that's very surprising and a quietness. The only indication that you have that they're behind you is their quite repugnant, sweet smell of decay. But you might not even get that, because Theoden's covered in perfume. And so, because Theoden's covered in perfume, they've got you to rights, dead to rights for sure. Before you know it, you are raising shields and weapons, just trying to buffet their initial attacks. Their combined endurance is 11. Do go ahead and tell me how you were vulnerable. Theoden, because of your blurry vision, I'm making you roll weak point twice.
Well, then I think that is a prime example of how he's vulnerable. Not only does he not necessarily, whenever he fights something, he doesn't necessarily want to be surprised by it. So he's surprised, and he can't see very well, and it's dark. So I think that's how he's quite vulnerable. And I will roll my weak point.
Yeah, I want 2 from you.
So 6, which is totally fucking awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
And a 3.
Okay. And how are you vulnerable, Osto? You're muted.
I think I'm vulnerable because I was mostly just focused on what Alec and Revel were doing, and have to scramble to get a weapon up.
What's your weak point?
Also a 6.
Die rollers decided to be cruel at the exact moment. The exact right moment. This is a combat 2. Osto, you can do the thing.
Let's do it.
Looking for 6 and a 5 or higher.
1 and a 4.
A 1 and a 4. Not enough to win, but they don't hit you either. So let's just have the first round of the combat. Go ahead, Osto, kick it off. What does it look like?
I think Osto like scrambles back. I don't know if he actually like falls on his ass or anything, but definitely like scrambles back and fumbles for the roll, and starts putting the syringe together instead of grabbing a weapon, and just like trying to keep distance.
I'll tell you just for narration purposes that what they try to do is just grab and rip and tear and bludgeon. So keep it going, Theoden.
Yeah, you kind of see a little bit of the similar thing with Theoden. He might fall because he can't see very well. His weapon is much easier to get to, though. And so what he's trying to do is kind of kick off something and basically put as much distance between him and the creature as he can, so he can hopefully, kind of put something in front of it. He thinks they're just they might be graceful, in a sneaky way, but he thinks that now that stuff's going down, they're going to come straight at him. So he wants to kind of drop something in their way.
Alec and Revel, you are both aware of what's going on behind you. Revel, you have to focus on the circle to keep the circle a thing. As long as you focus on the circle and as long as both of you stay within the circle, those three will stay focused on the circle and be no harm to anyone. But it means you can't help Osto and Taden. So if one of you wants to break the circle, then probably the three attacking you will eventually break off and chase that person. So with all that said, Alec and or Revel, are you going to try to join their fight, or are you going to let them see if they can do it by themselves?
I look at you, Revel. I'm like, I don't understand how the magic works. Can I leave the circle?
Yes, but I wouldn't. If you're going to leave the circle, can I hold on to your pearl?
No. Take it off my dead, pustulated body. I run out of the circle towards the other two and throw a vial of vermin repellent at them.
Very good. I like that, actually. I like it enough to where I don't think it like affects them necessarily like in a direct way, but it might be enough to confuse their senses, right? Because they seem to operate from like senses other than sight. At least it seems like it. And so I'll lower their endurance by 1 for you doing that, as long as you erase the use of the vermin repellent. That'll make them a 10, and you can join the fight. Give me a weak point though. How are you vulnerable?
Sure. 1 is my weak point.
And just describe why you're vulnerable in the fight.
Because I got this green slime all over me still, so I'm kind of like slipping around a bit. That's why
that makes sense. Yeah, I like that. I love it. So our weak points are 2 6s, a 3, and a 1. It is now going to be a combat 4 total because of Alec joining the fight. Alec, you can do the honors. Go roll combat 4. Looking for 10 on the 2 highest dice. Hey,
Yep,
look at that. It's 4 6s.
Do I take 4 damage from this?
If you don't mark armor, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can, if you mark armor, but here's a cool thing about the game though. If you mark armor, it absorbs all the damage. So 1 armor equals all the ruin. So, but you will destroy them, the 3 of you. Let's have a good fight here. Let's narrate it really well. Alec, kick us off. What does it look
All
like?
right. So I throw that vial of vermin repellent, which explodes all over one of them, and much like the perfume that has been cloying for us, it kind of cloys them. In the meantime, when I was creeping around, I had tied 60 feet of rope to my chopped down whaling spear, because that's how whalers fight. So I whip the spear, it like pierces right through, and then I tug it as I hook to the right, pulling one of the creatures into the other creature, making it stumble, giving these other 2 guys a chance to do something.
I love it. Keep it going, Osto. Bearing in mind you're going to take a hit. Well, or your armor will.
Yeah, I think so the one that has stumbled, I think I jump right on and it's tearing at me and pull it, like just shredding my armor. And I managed to get the syringe like right in its neck and just plunge it in until it stops.
Pump it with sedative. To kill it. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Taden, wrap up the fight.
So there's 1 free besides the 2 they described coming towards Theoden, and he kind of hunches down a little bit, and it's like straight kind of feral mode that he goes in. So you see this long stringy gray hair, and he kind of jumps at it, and it kind of grabs him a little bit and starts did you say like they bite, stuff like that? Is that what you said, Jason?
They just rip and tear. Yeah, so it kind of grabs him kind of by the wrist a little bit, and it proceeds to pull and completely destroy both of his gauntlets that he's got. But he's sitting there stabbing it in its eyes just over and over again on top of it, kind of climbing it as much as he can. I'm going to say there are now 2 left at the circle. One of them breaks away from the circle and begins wandering toward the melee. By itself, it's an endurance 9. As long as Revel keeps the one focused on the circle, they're split and they're endurance 9. If they join up, they're endurance 11. And that one that's split off, the one of the two remaining is lumbering, moving actually pretty quickly now toward the three of you who are outside of the circle. Revel, what are you doing right now?
So I'm gonna maintain the circle, and can I throw stuff outside of the circle?
I think that's doable. Depending on what you do, it might be a risk roll. What do you do?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I have some vials of tar.
Okay.
I'm going to throw them between, try and throw them between the one of the creatures and the rest of the group.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, I like that. I think that'll probably be like that'll probably ultimately lower its endurance if you succeed on a risk roll. The fail condition is going to be quite simply that like there's something else in here that is much more flammable in the environment, and it just creates a conflagration in the cave. The devil's bargain. You're getting a light die for the equipment. Chris, you can make the devil's bargain.
He throws it too far, and instead of it sticking to him, it sticks to one of his companions, probably me.
Ooh, that is a bad idea, but I like it. Do you accept this, Revel?
I was going to make another one, but I propose one for myself.
You may not.
Okay. I don't. Even though you volunteered yourself, I don't think so.
You have one light, and I think you're playing with fire. You got to take a dark, right?
Yeah. All right, so I got a 5, and once again, I raised my ruin.
Yeah, I think you raise your ruin simply because I think you just like maybe get some backsplash and fire on you from like some. It kind of splatters on you a little bit. Take a condition, which is burns as well. But you create a fire barrier, which will lower the endurance of the lumbering creature because essentially it slows it down, right, and gives you all some advantage there. So it's now an endurance 8. So this is on 3 combat dice, not an incredibly hard fight.
I'm actually going to use one of my pieces of armor. So the pitch when it hit me, it actually used up the charges, I guess is how it might work on my amulet of protection.
Okay, so technically speaking, you can only use armor on a combat roll, but I like the way you've described it though. You can get credit for it. It's fine. I'm open to that. Since it's all kind of a combat situation. Okay, so here's the situation. Thing is lumbering for you, pauses because of the firewall. So lowers its endurance, makes it easier to kill. Whoever is engaging the creature, say how you're vulnerable and roll weak point.
I mean, I'll engage. I was giving somebody else a chance. That's fine. I'll go. It's no big deal.
We can all do it.
You can all do it. Yeah, everybody can fight it. Yeah.
I will roll weak point first, I suppose, and then
tell us how you're vulnerable.
My weak point is 2. So this what ignited the pitch?
Well, if you had a torch around, I think Revel had a torch. Okay. Yeah.
So tell me if this is too far out there. The weak point here is I got this green goop, and I hooked my spear through a guy. Mm-hmm. One of these creatures, and I had to like yank it out because it's just you have to yank it out to get it, but like and pull the rope back in. But I have like the green goop all over the rope now, and I'm going to launch my spear through the firewall into the thing. But
nice.
I'm weak because the rope is now covered in this green goop, which is highly flammable, and I am flammable.
Very good. Yeah, that's good. I like it a lot. That's great. Ted and Osto, you joining the fight?
Yeah, I think so. 5. How am I vulnerable? I hate fire, and I'm loath to engage something that is engulfed in it.
I imagine you're a former miner, right?
Yeah. Way too bright for me.
Fires underground are probably traumatic.
Fire hazard down here is
PTSD, situation. Yeah. Ted, are you joining the fight? I will tell you, Taden, because of the increased light from all the fire, I won't have your blurry vision be in effect here. So
that was going to be the deciding factor on if I join the fight. So yeah, I think he'll join it. What he's going to do though, let me roll my weak point and say how he's vulnerable first. It is 4, and yeah, kind of a similar thing. He fights close up once he's got the drop on something, and if that thing that he wants to climb on, like he climbed on the last one, is covered in flames, then it might not work out the same way the last one did.
Indeed not. You can do the roll, Taden, since you haven't rolled combat yet. It's a combat 3 to start. Looking for 8 on the 2 highest dice.
All right, combat 3. 8.
I haven't seen it yet. Oh, look at that. 5 and 3. It's a good thing you had that reduction in endurance. Success. Does anybody take a hit here? Looks
I
like
do.
I also do.
and Alex both do. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can take the ruin, or you can mark armor to avoid the ruin. Here's where the tactical element comes in, because you have to consider the question: is it worth marking one of your limited armors just for one ruin? Right. So
Yeah, I'm taking the hit.
I took 1 ruin.
yeah. Let's have the fight. Okay. So Alec, kick it off.
I whip my spear through the fire, which then catches on fire a little bit, into the creature. So and then when it tries to move, I just kind of like flick the rope left and right to like keep it in place so that the other 2 can kill it.
Keep it going, Osto. Actually, no, I gave Taden the killing blow last time. Taden, keep it going.
Go for it.
Yeah, so I think that this time he actually kind of throws his knife at its face. He's still probably within a few feet of it, but it's more like the close range knife, like right to the chest. It probably gets caught by a bunch of fat and stuff, but it staggers a little bit, so Osto can get close enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I wait a little bit too close to the fire and catch some of it in the front, but just bring my the war pick down and just crush its head.
Fantastic.
Let it
There
burn.
is still one. It's still pushing up fruitlessly against the barrier that Revels created. It doesn't seem drawn away by the combat. It's still very focused on Revel. It can't go inside the barrier because Revel's holding steady. At this point, what do you all do?
We need to kill it. It needs to die, this sea devil.
If we attack it from a distance, do we think it'll come at us?
Oh, that's a great question. Maybe it'll stay worried about the circle.
Well,
I guess
find
that's
out.
wishful thinking.
I think I'll huck one of my throwing axes at it and see what happens.
It comes toward you.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Question answered.
Here it
Question
comes.
answered.
As he's going to do that, I think that Theoden wants to pull his bear trap out of his pack and kind of put it in the straightest line between the group and the creature.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I'll have the spear risk roll to lower the endurance. The fail condition is in the melee. Like the trap's there, it doesn't work, and in the melee, one of you steps on it. So, if you wish to proceed, you're using the equipment, so you have your 1 light die, and Mark, you can make the devil's bargain.
No matter what, one of us was infected by one of the many dead ones.
Oh, very interesting.
Don't know who yet.
Well, in the spirit of a one-shot, I will completely agree with your devil's bargain.
Very good. Are you okay with you being the one that's infected?
I'm fine with it being me. That's fine. I mean, it kind of even works judging by what happened earlier.
Well, I would say so, yeah. So you have 2 light dice, and I don't need a dark die yet because there's nothing inherently dangerous about putting the trap out there or throwing it out there. So go ahead and roll 2 light.
All right, 2 light risk. I got a 6 light. It should show up in a second.
Fantastic. The creature is now an 8 because it gets caught in the bear trap. It gives a sort of plaintive cry of pain. Revel, the circle is not doing anything now if you want to join the fight. So
Yeah, I will. I'm going to keep the circle up for a little bit, but I will join the fight.
Indeed. Everybody, I need new weak points. Say how you're vulnerable and roll them up.
I rolled a 4. I am going to be weak because I am going to try to engage in close combat with this thing and wrap it up to give somebody a chance to stab it, in a weak spot.
Very, very dangerous. Yeah. Osto, what's yours?
I am not going to engage. I'm going to take a step. I'm going to take a step back just in case there's more.
One person in the combat so far. Theoden, you joining the combat? You've already done your part if you don't want to.
Is Revel joining the combat? Because if Revel is, then Theoden will give his distance and say that he did his part. So if I see you guys pincering it, then I will definitely let you.
You're actually not sure because I'm still behind my circle.
Then I think the first round is a no then. So then
yeah, I'll say no just character wise.
You're by yourself, Alec, for the first round.
Well, I'm actually fully participating. I just am not going to drop it until it's my turn.
Oh, so sure. Oh, so Tatum won't know until So okay, so it'll be the 2 then. Revel, go ahead and roll your weak point, just so we know what it is.
I have a 1, okay. And it'll also be because I'm engaging, so there's a potential of getting splashed by gore or hit or whatever.
Also, just the delay, I think, might be a problem. Might create some issues. Let's have the roll though. Alec, you can roll combat 2. Looking for 8.
I got a 10.
10, nice. And
I also got hit.
You got hit. Are you gonna absorb it with armor? Or are you gonna take it?
I'm actually going to take it.
You have a lot of ruin to spend, don't you?
Yes, I have. Yeah. I only am at 3 ruin currently.
Yeah,
nice.
I love it. Go ahead and start the fight, Alec. What does it look like?
Like I said, so the one that's burning with my chopped down whaling spear in it, it's got a rope attached to it that's on fire. I run forward and I go to pull it out, but I can't quite get it out. So I change my tactic and I basically run around it and loop the rope around it that's also on fire, and hold it in place. But I'm really way too close to it at this point. So it reaches down and takes a chunk out of my shoulder.
I love the idea that Osto and Tannen aren't responding, and so Revel, what do you do?
The circle drops, and as I step out from the circle, I pull out my barbed whip and strike at the creature, kind of wrapping it around its neck and pulling as hard as I can as it topples over on fire.
Fantastic. And then you can all just stab it and beat it until it's dead. I love it. You're going to get 3 gold rolls from these 3 different combats. Alec, why don't you roll the gold 10 for the initial combat? Let's see what you get.
What do I roll here? I'm sorry.
It's called gold. There's one of the die rollers.
So I just roll 1 gold?
10. You're going to put 10 in there.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I found 0 gold.
0 gold.
Yep, that's how it
goes sometimes.
Sure, yeah. That's fine.
The second combat roll, Revel, you can take it since your help was critical in that fight. It's an 8 gold.
Okay. So you lose the gold when you reduce endurance too.
Yeah. It lowers the gold roll as well.
All right, we got 1.
Hey, that's something. It's better than nothing. So you're up to 1 gold so far for this combat. And Mark, you can do the last roll, which is another 8.
Let's see, a clean 8, Mark.
3. There we go.
Nice.
Very good. That last one came in for the assist. That's 1 gold each, so that's convenient. Please describe basically. So I can tell you what these things might have that is of inherent value. Unfortunately, according to the module, it appears to be nothing. And so instead, I think we get to be creative here and decide what kinds of parts these things might have that are of use or interest. It can't be the cysts. The cysts only come from the feathered swine, but there might be other body parts that are of use to someone or of value to someone. And so name what you find and then add it to your found equipment. It's worth 1 gold.
And these are clearly like previous humans who were
They were
transformed
previous humans, yeah. So it
somehow
could be
and
something
grown
that was
around.
on their person, yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one that I bashed the head in, like it had a necklace that everything like grew around. So like I reach into the goop and like
Take it, yeah.
yank it loose.
Yeah, good.
I find in the massive, terrible flesh growing all over the place, a silver flask. It's got a flame emblazoned down the front of it, like carved
Nice.
into it.
Yeah.
So you can veto this one if I'm too close to the cyst, but um, because of the kind of the parasitic nature of the damage that these things do and infecting the other mercenary, I'm going to take I'm going to try and take a hand and end up harvesting the parasites, selling the parasites.
Yeah, take the hand, and it's worth 1 gold to someone for some reason. But you'll probably have to learn a little bit more about the nature of the infection before you can do something actively yourself with it. What do you find, Tedden?
Yeah, I think that on the one that he carved its face up pretty good, I think that as he's kind of picking it over as he did in his past job, he finds a silver ring with an emerald set in it,
Very nice.
kind of grown over by fat and now viscera.
Fantastic. Oh, actually, I was wrong. They did have treasure that is listed here, but I like what you all did better, so we're good. Well, now it seems the space is at least safe, so there's that. I'll give you the run of the cavern at this point. In fact, I might just take the picture and show you the rest of it. I believe this is it. Yeah. Let's add that to the drawing and make it smaller-ish. There we go. So there's the cave. It actually doesn't, it's actually probably bigger than what it appears here, but more like that, I think. And yeah, that little rocky area down below, that's or at the bottom, that's sort of where the fight took place. As you look around, you do see there is another tunnel. It keeps going. Also to the north, there's like a body of water. So that's interesting. What do you all do?
As a miner, does the water look like a spring or it's stagnant?
Let me look. I don't know. It's a blue pool of water that's actually phosphorescent. So I probably wouldn't drink it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what you see.
Is there like
you can see that right away just by glancing.
Is there like a phosphorescent film on it, or is it phosphorescent through clear?
Make the hunt roll.
All right. 2 dice.
What are your skills?
Mine. Let's see what I am. My skills are beast strength, trails, and paths.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Beast strength, trails, and paths. I think you were a miner. I'll take that as a good enough excuse to get the second dice.
Cool. A 4.
Take your token. Looking down at the bottom of the pool, I think that the phosphorescent blue glow is coming from the surface. It can be skimmed off. It's just kind of more of that fungus, similar to what Theoden found. There does seem to be something at the bottom of the pool that is pearlescent and crawling around.
Mm.
What's everyone else doing right now? Alec? Oh, you're muted.
I have a vial of troll blood that heals 1 ruin, which I will pour on the wound of where I got bit on the shoulder.
Go for it. Theoden, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think Theoden wanted to kind of wander to where those things were initially kind of eating and look around to see if there's any other body parts to sift through and if they have anything.
Yeah, make a hunt roll.
Okay. Should I just do 1, 2?
1, unless you have a skill or piece of equipment that's helpful here.
I mean, I was an opportunistic grave robber is my background.
I'm into it. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
That is a 6.
Take your token. I'll tell you what you find in a moment. What are you doing, Revel?
So I'm gonna kind of go past and look if there's any like boulders or like nooks and crannies where there might have been things that have fallen off of the shambling.
Yeah, the creatures. Would you get to name, by the way? You get to give them a name.
The shambling pustule mound. I don't know.
Make a hunt roll.
Okay. Let's see here. Probably not. It's probably just 1.
What'd you get?
I got a 3.
Let me take a look at the module. Since you were kind of describing yourself like looking along the rocks and near the perimeter to see if anything was ever dropped, I will tell you that in one portion of the cave wall, kind of in the southeasterly portion, behind the rock, you hear something moving around behind the rock. You don't find anything else otherwise. Theoden, you're going through their feeding spot, and let me tell you what you see. Yeah, you actually find a partial, quite fresh body of one of the mercenaries, maybe even more than one of the mercenaries. Let me see here. No, just one mercenary. But you also find their stuff, whatever's left undamaged from their equipment. You can take 2 selections from the open equipment tab and add it to your found equipment. Alec, you're healed up. And
Question for Revel. When you found bones in that small cave near the entrance, were they human bones or like food bones?
I don't think we ever clarified.
We didn't. I think they were, because I used it as a poker, I think they were human bones, so that there was a fever probably that was long enough. And I do still have it with me to poke around with other stuff.
I think unless there's an anatomist with you, we don't know for sure. So
maybe Theoden knows what a bone looks like,
or what type of bone it is. Well, anyway, Osto, what are you doing? You've got this pool with this moving pearlescent glow at the bottom.
Yeah. I guess I'm gonna try and skim the surface to try and get a better look.
You see what you see what you see. You need to get down in the water if
Okay.
you want to get a better look. Yeah.
I'll dig in. Fish around in there with my the horseman's pick
Okay.
and see if it's too deep or I can kind of catch that with the hook and pull it in.
You pull up just a glistening mass of crabs all over the end of your pick. They've clung on. They're very, very similar to the crabs that were coming out of the holes in the pearl, Alec, except the ones coming out of the pearl were almost microscopic in size. I mean, you can see them with the naked eye, but they're very, very tiny. These are bigger. These are like regular sized crabs. And you can realize now at the bottom, Osto, the bottom is just of this pool is just covered with masses of these pearlescent crabs.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, Alec, I will point out to you that these little tiny crabs have been crawling out of the pearl the entire time it's been in your equipment. And they grow rapidly, magically. In fact, just as Osto is pulling this out and you're having this dawning realization, you can feel now the size of a thumbnail, little crabs crawling up your pant legs and crawling up your shirt, your whaling jerkin, Alec, covered in little tiny pearlescent crabs. And I think we'll just end the session there. Let's, there's nothing to do end of session for Trophy Gold. We go straight to stars and wishes. So stars, things we enjoyed about the session, either the module or some bit of description, some gameplay, something one of your fellow players did, something I did. Wishes are things that you hope to see next week when we wrap up the Sleeping Place of the Feathered Swine. I'll let somebody else go first.
I'm just really loving the vibe of the module all around. It's got a really nice, it feels like a lot of adventures are just like, we go into a cave, but the caves are just like rooms. And this one has like a lot more of like a actual cavey feel with the tight passages and all that stuff. So that's a really cool vibe. And also the ramp up is like super my flavor of ramp up where it's like, oh, there's not really anything here. Oh no, everything all of a sudden all at once. That's a great time.
That's a star for me too. The pacing is exquisite in this module.
Yeah.
Like it everything unfurls at exactly the right time. Yeah.
So I like when Theoden came back from being in the cramped space, and he's like, she was whining, but there were also like things taking over her body, like she's complaining even though she's dying. Like I'm like, wow, that's rough.
That whole situation with Aspeth is really grim. Actually, it's a grim situation. And yeah, and perfectly timed. Like when you find her, that's when like shit starts to get really real in the cave. Yeah.
I also like when Revel was like, so how much is this pearl worth? He's like, not much. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll not split the funds with everybody then. Those two moments told me a lot about those characters, which I'm always very into characters like getting to know characters through play. So
yeah, same. If I have a wish for next week, I think I want to explore the drives at least a little bit next week. I don't want it to go unremarked upon. So I think I'll look for some moments to ask some questions about him next week.
Yeah, I also like the Theoden moment where he handed me the knife instead of doing the job himself. Like, you like dead things? No? Okay, yeah, great, fine. Yeah, sure, why not?
So I in my head, he was totally gonna be like this dude who just like snaps into being terrifying. But then when he got sprayed with all that, I was like, it would be kind of funny. And it also ends up being that every time I play Trophy Gold with Jason, I also end up as like a whiny character that falls down all the time. Because I think we played in Cross Stitch a long time ago.
Mm.
And that character was getting ragdolled around quite a lot,
Yeah.
as I recall correctly.
So I like the slimy little dudes, stuff like that. But everybody did such a good job. All these characters seem really cool. I love the fact that you got to talk about your spear, Chris. That was fun. And
thank you. I like being able
yeah.
to talk about it.
Yeah, it was great, and I like that it means something to him, and it's not just his piece of equipment that he's got too on a piece of paper or whatnot. I also really like kind of everybody's reaction when you walk first into the cave, and this is for Jason too and everybody, that everywhere you look, it's like, yeah, so there's this, and then there's shit there as well, and then everybody's reaction to all that was great. And for my wish is kind of the same as Jason's. I want to talk about the drives a little bit and see kind of what's going on there.
I have another star for just the like. I really enjoyed the. Sometimes it's fun just to do a dungeon crawl, you know, and like this is just a straight up about as pure a dungeon crawl as you can get in terms of like just the principal activity of the session, and that's really fun and enjoyable. Like that has a certain like pleasure to it. But I will throw a star for Trophy Gold because Trophy Gold allows you to actually like see a lot of the dungeon in a fairly short period of time or a shorter period of time, and have some have some tension, have some excitement. I was always, even though I knew it was happening, I still felt the tension at the table, our digital table. I could feel the tension of the moments, and I thought the combat was really good too. That sort of like 3-part combat was really enjoyable. So yeah.
That was what I was gonna remark on. I like that because of Revel's ideas, it broke the combat down into
that was actually
something.
star for that. I really love the setup of like 2 of the characters are in this circle, 2 of the characters are getting jumped, and then Revel helping in the way that like it was really interesting the way Revel sort of like helped. Like Revel basically kept them at bay so that they could be funneled to you, but also helped lower their endurance with different things. So it was a really good like example of Trophy Gold combat, actually. Like this sort of blending of there's like I said, there's this tactical element and just in terms of the numbers and the dice, but also it's a narrative tactical element, right? Like you get to kind of like use the narrative like to effect, right? Which I think was really apparent in that combat. So yeah, star for that.
Yeah, and I would just say, like with the combat, I think if you make the comparison of Trophy Gold, that let's say we were doing this in 5th edition or something, I mean, you just wouldn't. It would be hard to pull that off because we'd be bogged down with saving throws for the fire and the circle.
And we'd still be doing it too. Like we wouldn't be on yet, right? Yeah,
that too. But I one of the things I really 2 things I really appreciated was the characterization of kind of the building of the characters. I love it when we kind of enter and kind of build them as we're playing. And one of those I thought was great was the cowardice. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I've ever played that had a coward in a party, because usually the stereotypical adventurer is always, so I thought that was great. Wishes more opportunities for kind of character building.
Yeah, these are all like I really thought it's an interesting note about the cowardice and the relative courage of the characters because as is appropriate, I think the characters are mostly dirtbags, right? And like they're kind of like, or at the very least, they're kind of like the dregs of our society here, doing really nasty work and for unclear reward. But I thought it was really interesting because Alec was actually like probably the most courageous of the characters, like putting himself in danger and stuff a lot. But I got the impression that wasn't like of any particular like. It wasn't like necessarily like something inherent to Alec's character, though it might have been, but it was more like I used to be a whaler and this is kind of like what you do. Like it's all hands on deck and it's everybody, it's you have to work as a team or you're all going to die, And so I kind of got the impression that that's how Alec was like being, as opposed to like, I'm a big hero, it was more like, I'm trying to like, this is a team effort. We're not going to survive this if we don't, like all pitch in or whatever. So yeah,
I'm so happy that came through because
exactly absolutely. What I was going for. I got those vibes all the way. Yeah, I even like how you like harpooned the creature, right? Like that was really great. Like yeah. So
and kind of bouncing out like the a star two trophy again, although it is the like core concept of the game. Like when I was up there with Espeth and she's like, get the fuck out of here. A normal person definitely would, but we like if I go back, I'm as good as dead. So
Yeah.
let's get infected.
Well,
Yeah,
thanks
that was
to
a,
that,
that was
Devil's
such a good
Bargain.
moment. Yeah, that was a good moment. That whole thing with Aspeth was really good. Like I really liked it just like added that extra, it added like some like drama into the middle of it, which I thought was really, it felt like a good time to do it. So
Yeah, and again, it was paced so well.
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jason, you pace this. That's like my big star. Like I'm a big guy with pacing, and the thing was just I could see that the module is paced, but you also executed it like at a high level. Like that's
Thank you.
obvious.
Yeah. It's nice when you have easy material to work with, and this is actually a really easy module to work with. I have to say that the module is very much my thing. It's so gruesome and so nasty and incredibly distasteful in the best way. And I really, but also it's actually really a pleasure to run. Like it has, the information is organized in a really clean way. Every chamber has like a picture of the chamber separate from the rest of the map so that I could, for example, easily clip it and drop it into the Google drawing. And it doesn't reveal secrets either. Like a lot of times, like maps like reveal the secrets on the map, and so you can't use them. If you can't show them to the players. But this one doesn't. None of the secrets are on it, so like that's really helpful. And yeah, the text is just organized in a way that is, which we'll talk about this on Fear, but like the text is organized in a way that it makes it a really simple to like describe what's happening and what you see when you first walk in. And yeah, it's really efficient and good module from a structural standpoint. So when we're done, you should take a look at it. It's really good.
If I had one wish, it would be that all of this parasitic, thematically gross stuff escalates even more.
Yeah, that's my only wish.
I think it's going to. Yeah, I think it's going to. In terms of percentage, if I had to put like a percentage on how much of this you've finished, you've finished about actually about exactly half. So I think we're in pretty good shape as far as that goes. That should give us time to wrap it up next week and then also do Hearthfire. So if your characters survive. So if they survive,
and we have to name the creatures, right?
You have to name the creature, yeah. And if the characters survive and they make it through Hearthfire, i.e., you meet your burdens, then you can use them again in any of my trophy gold games you get into. So I've been thinking about I've been really inspired by Jason Lutz's West Marches thing, and I'm kind of like wanting to do trophy West Marches. I keep having this idea, but it would be like, I kind of want to do it like Jason did, which is like essentially like you have like a common meeting area for all the potential players, which is how you do in West Marches. But then the gameplay sessions can just happen at any time, and they're only like an hour. So basically you just like, if you're there and you can play, you just go get to adventure for an hour, and instead of having to meet full burdens, you have to just pay like 1 gold to the common good or whatever of the group. But then you but you don't reveal like everything to everyone at all times. Like the players have to get together in the tavern in Discord or whatever and like talk about what they found, so that the next group has some kind of information, so I think that could be a lot of fun. I think there's a way to do it with trophy. And so, yeah, these characters could certainly be a part of that if I end up doing something like that too. So
yeah, that'd be really cool because that sets up like, oh, there's like a 1 set dungeon over here. Or like,
that's exactly right. Yeah,
that's super cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And it'd be a great chance to like use Loom and to kind of, you can do some fun stuff with it, So I'm gonna see if I can make it work. But
With this module, I keep waiting for it to turn into Trophy Dark. It just
I mean,
yeah.
The thing is, it kind of is, right? It is. It's not structurally like a Trophy Dark incursion, but it has like the same pacing, right? Like it has the same like kind of increasing, escalating like stakes, and clearly culminating into, in this case, the feathered swine, right? Like we're clearly getting closer to that.
And with the horror aspect, it just feels like we should all be duped at the end.
Yeah. I
might
totally
be.
agree. We'll see how it goes. Any other stars and wishes? Okay, well, this was great fun. I'm going to wave goodbye to anybody watching the video. Goodbye, people watching the video.